hidden from the light. Whispers turn to screams, shattering all your dreams. Eyes wide open now, truth you can't disavow. Echoes through the halls, crashing all your walls. Truth seekers, exposing the truth. Truth seekers, coming for you. Uncover the lies, open your eyes. Shadows try to hide, no place for them to bide. Light will pierce you through, reveal what is true. Running from your fears, can't escape the sears. Truth will hunt you down, tear apart your crown. Truth seekers, exposing the truth. Truth seekers, coming for you. Uncover the lies, open your eyes. Eyes wide open now, truth you can't disavow. Echoes through the halls, crashing all your walls. Truth seekers, exposing the truth. Truth seekers, coming for you. Uncover the lies, open your eyes.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Tonight we'll be bringing you a very special story, which is an exclusive story to truth seekers. And if you've been watching a long time, you know that my favorite stories here are the stories which we break here. We have been covering one Luis Elizondo, the fake Pentagon UFO program director, since I guess 2016, 2017, when the New York Times article came out and was riddled with complete and total factual inaccuracies, some of which we realized early, but it's taken people years to catch up to the excellent fact based truth that we give people here. Mr. Elizondo is like many of the characters we have covered here that I call a false UFO messiah. Now, what do I mean by that? Uh, Mr. Elizondo pretends that he ran a government UFO program. He never ran a government UFO program, full stop. And we have continued to keep finding more and more confirmation that he never ran a government UFO program. He had a hobby while he worked at the Pentagon, but he never ran any funded or official Pentagon UFO program. So now that's where it becomes problematic for me because, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer or law enforcement officer, I'm just offering my opinion. If you take money from people for a book and you lie right on the cover of the book and say, I ran a government UFO program, buy my book, to me, that's a form of consumer fraud. You're lying to people, deceiving them, and taking money from them. Some may call that, I'm terrible at legal terms, theft by deception. And there's also the issue of him getting a television show deal, pretending to be a government person who ran a UFO program. He never was. There's the issue of him falsifying, some say, his resume while with this organization TTSA, which were soliciting public investor money based on his falsified, or some would say exaggerated or embellished resume, in which he claimed, yeah, I ran a government program that was $22 million program. No, he's purposefully conflating two separate things. There was a $22 million government program called OSAP, which he has repeatedly said he had nothing to do with. They lost their funding. They used the nickname for that program as ATIP. He took that and pretended that he was the new director. And you'll remember that when he first came out, he was the director of a $22 million government UFO program. And of course, he's since walked that back. And now even he can't keep the story straight. He was an integral member, he was an important contributor to this program. Well, first you said you were the director, and then we busted that you were only the director of something in the land of make believe. So why should we believe anything you have to say? And I have continually put on the record and said, um, oh, just one second. Uh, Pardon me one second. Okay, so, and by the way, I'm sharing for the benefit of the truth getting out there about this fake Pentagon UFO clown. I am sharing the source material. And all I will say about the source material is that it came from a source who wishes to remain anonymous. And according to the laws in the state in which I live in Pennsylvania, there's a very strong journalist shield law. I don't have to reveal my sources, even under threat of subpoena or lawsuit or arrest. So I am going to keep my word to that source. And the source who provided the undercover leaked audio of this event that he was lying to people for money at will remain anonymous. Um, but I have, for the benefit of the truth, I have right before broadcast, I have dropped a Google Drive link to other journalists and other people who may have interest in what Lue Elizondo is telling a paying audience. Uh, okay, great. And uh, so you'll soon begin to see clips of this leaked audio all over Twitter and Reddit and wherever else. Because although majority of this is a snooze fest, there are some interesting tidbits in there, which, in my opinion, I believe it proves that he's lying to people for money, which makes him a scumbag. So there it is. But before we get to the main event tonight, it's interesting. I don't know how I feel about this, so I'm going to try to be as fair about this as possible. Um, Recently, this girl, I believe her name is Kelly, who has me blocked, by the way. You gotta love it when somebody blocks you for telling the truth about something, and then years later they realize it themselves and they have their come to, oh, I've been promoting scammers moment. So this girl's from a show called the UFO Rabbit Hole, which basically has been promoting the whole CIA disinformation psyop disclosure with all of these former intelligence agents. And she finally came to her senses recently, and she threw Lou Elizondo under the bus as a government disinformation agent, even though her and her new hokey co-star, what's that guy's name? Christopher King or something? Yeah, he gets abducted by aliens. And I once saw a clip of her new co-host, and he was like he was standing near Lou Elizondo, and he looked like he was gonna like cream in his pants. He was so excited to be standing near this fake UFO messiah, fake loser, fake hero of disclosure. Um, so I'm going to share this first, and we'll get into it. But I just think it's funny that the hits keep coming. The L's keep coming for Lou the Liar Elizondo. And by the way, this is fair use. This is a transformative work. Do I even have banners? Oh, of course not. All right, so I'll say it verbally until I get this studio in order. This is fair use. This is a transformative work where educating the public will be discussing and critiquing the clip from the video that we are sharing. And yes, her name is Kelly Chase. And I'm not sure how to feel about this because this girl made her whole career out of promoting lying, grifting, scumbag UFO celebrities and propping them up, giving them softball circle jerks. I've seen her jerking off. Wait, that sounded bad. I'm talking about a female. I've seen her softballing all of these scumbag UFO fake celebrities, lying, grifting scumbags. In many cases, many of these people are liars, grifters, con artists. They take advantage of vulnerable people that want to believe in all this. And her entire career up until this point, for years and years now, has been propping these people up. But now, my friends, she's had a come to Cambion moment. That's what she had. And this girl blocked me. But I've been here the whole time telling the truth, Kelly Chase. I didn't make my career helping the scumbags and taking my little piece of the pie, right? And so I don't know how I feel about this. Some people are celebrating her for finally telling the truth, but then she just starts a new show and she goes right back to softball circle jerks of wackadoos, right? Uh, I don't know, psionics wackadoos or whatever. So I don't really know what to think about this, but it's worthy of noting that here is another former fluffer, right? She used to be a Lue Elizondo. She all but blew him, right? She all but blew him. Her and her new co-host all but blew this guy, right? Prop him up, call him a hero, say he's risking his life. But suddenly she realized that she blew the wrong dude. He wasn't what he pretended to be. And this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. Let's see what she has to say about the CIA disinformation and intelligence limited hangout disclosure people, which, by the way, she's been helping for years sell their fairy tale psyop.
All good things must come to an end. And this podcast and the international community that has sprung up around it has been a very good thing. It's been
very profitable for you, right? You get what did you get? Book deal or TV show deal? She got some deals, documentary deals. She was in some documentaries because she's great at the softball. She's great at helping these guys sell their evidence-free bullshit fake narratives. She's been great at it, but now things have changed.
been one of the best things in my life, which is why it's hard to actually say the words that this episode will be the last episode of the UFO rabbit hole. I made the case on this.
Too bad. And by the way, I just want to say that if not, people can say whatever they want about me, but I'm a survivor. I have seen so many Kelly Chases come and go and be swallowed up and destroyed by this rabbit hole. And I'm still here. So she caves. She's going to change her whole show name and I guess parts of what she does because she suddenly realized that she was being used by all these people.
This podcast more than once that what we were witnessing was an unprecedented movement led by brave patriots within the military intelligence apparatus that were putting everything on the line, even their lives, to bring UFO disclosure to the public.
Yeah, she just said it on a documentary. She just said this bull.
I don't believe that anymore.
Oh, she suddenly had a come to Cambion moment. Well, and by the way, unblock me and apologize, you slob. This girl blocked me for telling people the truth. But now she wants to get a lot of publicity for her new project by shitting all over the people that she's been promoting for years. Great.
Most, if not all, of what we've seen on the disclosure front since 2017 has been theater, designed and acted out with those core objectives in mind.
Yeah, and you were part of the theater. And you did everything you could to help the fake limited hangout CIA psyop UFO disclosure people sell their fake nonsense psyop. You did everything you could to help them. Don't you have some responsibility? Shouldn't you apologize for helping sell lies for years and years of your life?
I'm going to commit the highest form of heresy that one can commit in this field.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, as soon as she makes this video, she's suddenly getting harassed, doxxed, threatened, intimidated by who? The sycophants, the nut jobs that follow Lue Elizondo, because you can't speak bad about dear cult leader.
I'm going to say the thing that everyone knows is objectively true, but that no one is allowed to say, which is this. The disclosures that we've gotten from whistleblowers so far have come from known, and in most cases current, members of the intelligence community.
Yeah. She just said nobody has been allowed to say it. Honey, look, I know that you're way behind on all this because she's not very bright, this girl, right? She's dumb as rocks, this girl, to let herself be used by this whole intel apparatus. So she's not very bright. She's catching on though, but she just said that nobody is allowed to say this. Honey, me and a few select other people have been saying this for years. You were allowed. You just chose profit over ethics. You chose fame and fortune and money over telling your audience the truth, instead deciding to play nice with all these grifters. And now you're going to see what happens. And you're going to see what people like me have been through for years of telling people the truth. Now you're getting a taste of it. Enjoy the taste, slob.
Most, if not all of them, still hold high-level security clearances and still work, whether directly or as contractors for the DoD or for aerospace defense companies.
And she knew this when she was propping up their narratives. She knew that already. You knew this already.
In many cases, it's both. And the information shared with us by those whistleblowers is the information that has been approved by the DoD through DOPSR. The fact that it's so controversial
Again, she knew all this.
to even acknowledge these basic truths is because the disclosure narrative is doing exactly the things that it's supposed to do. It's getting people invested in a story and in personalities that they want to believe in enough to not just overcome cognitive dissonance, but to deputize them to help further this narrative. If you want to see how absolute and insidious
And this is coming from a woman who was deputized to help further the narrative. You know, I'm trying to be as polite as I can here to this girl. Kelly, you were deputized. You know all those people that you got to interview and talk to and hang out with? You wouldn't have gotten that if you didn't play the game. You've been playing this whole game. You built your whole career on helping liars lie better and amplifying liars with their lies.
the narrative control is. Just try this little experiment. Log on to Reddit or X and try posting a direct quote about Lue Elizondo, in his own words, from his own book, explaining that he was recruited into OSAP by James Lukatsky to run counterintelligence for the program, without adding any further commentary, and see how that goes for you.
Left the Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy, not a ufologist. I never have been, I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community.
Yeah, it's great when they say the silent part out loud. Here's a counterintelligence agent admitting that he was hired to infiltrate the UFO community with false narratives. And I don't know what I believe from this guy anymore.
Fact about Lue that we only know because he told us, and yet no one is allowed to say it, much less raise any kind of legitimate questions about.
Again, she's wrong. You were allowed to say it, and you were allowed to raise legitimate questions, but you kept your mouth shut for the benefit of your shitty little show. She started around the same time I started my show. I could be wrong. Even with selling out and being willing to play the softball circle jerk game with all of these grifting, lying scumbags, she still didn't do better than me. With all of, I always joke, like, break both my legs and expect me to run a marathon. I'm one of the few people that are doing this honestly, without compromises. I'm not going to compromise. I just recently had somebody say, well, I'll give you an interview, Stephen, but you can't ask me about X, Y, and Z. No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want the interview then. If you're not going to let me ask whatever questions I want to, I'm not compromising and I'm not playing the game. But see, all of these UFO circle jerk shows all have one thing in common. They all have to toe the line. They all have to keep their mouth shut. They all have to compromise and be willing to not bring up certain subjects. That's just the way that it works, or you don't get access.
What it might actually mean, because those are questions that no one really wants to know the answer to. I'm no longer willing to overlook the glaring evidence that the disclosure narrative, at least as it's been presented to the public, is largely a fabrication.
Oh, now you've been pushing this fabrication for the entire length of your show, but now you've realized that it's been a fabrication. Maybe you shouldn't have blocked people like me who were telling people the truth. And by the way, I don't even recall why she blocked me. I might have asked her like about one of her circle jerk interviews that she did or something, I don't know.
When you look at what's happened objectively, I think that's hard to deny.
Yeah. Here's Mr. Grush. What has it been? 600 and something days? Still zero evidence of his claims. You remember Kelly Chase. This guy claimed that interdimensional space monsters with spaceships were murdering humans on Earth. And you didn't question that narrative from this former mental patient, right? You didn't question that narrative at all. You helped promote the narrative of Dave Grush.
And though I'll admit to experiencing a significant amount of disillusion and weathering a long series of dark nights of the soul over that realization, I ultimately don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I could wax poetic for hours about the different ways to read this situation.
It's not bad that you helped promote a false reality to stupid moron people for years. It's okay. All right, honey. All right.
How the tangled web of alliances, agendas, and competing interests could explain why things have unfolded the way that they have without requiring that everyone involved be a mustache-twisting villain. But at the end of the day, that's all speculation. The truth is, I don't actually know what's going on, and neither do you.
Oh, no, I know what's going on, Kelly Chase. All these people have been pushing this narrative from the same core group of people for years and years and years, and none of them have any real evidence. It's all one big circle jerk.
And that's the point. Whatever the disclosure movement is, whatever teams the various experts and whistleblowers ultimately play for, this is not a game that we get to play. We don't even get to...
No. The people who are actually asking real and hard questions and tough questions don't get to play, Kelly. You got to play because you were willing to push completely and totally fraudulent people pushing fraudulent agendas, profit-driven, clickbait, sensational storytelling with no evidence. You were willing to do that for years and years. So you got to play. But people like me who've been doing it the honest way since the very beginning, we didn't get to play. I didn't get a documentary deal propping up this false limited hangout intelligence officer sourced disclosure. You did. How many deals did you get to be in people's documentaries? You got to play. I didn't get to play.
To know the rules. We're just spectators watching a performance where we have no way of knowing who's actually pulling the strings. And frankly, I wouldn't even want to.
Oh, she doesn't want to know who's pulling the strings. Well, they sure pulled your strings. And look here, people are threatening to dox her already for just telling this little bit of truth. Welcome to the party, pal.
I've seen enough at this point to know that there are aspects of this that are very dark, very disturbing, and absolutely dangerous for anyone who wanders too close. I don't believe that it's possible to get real answers from these people anyways, so why would I bother? To be honest, I'm just no longer interested.
Yeah, she's no longer interested, and yet her new show is basically pushing the same woo garbage. That it? Yes, that is it. All right, so yeah, I mean, people wanted me to talk about this, but I don't even know what to say. This girl helped sell this false narrative, and now all of a sudden, oh, she deserves some credit for coming out and telling the truth all of a sudden, and she's getting attacked. Poor girl. Well, maybe it's karma. She took all the money. She took all the money for all these years. She took all the interviews that she wouldn't have gotten if she wasn't doing the softball stuff. She took all the money, friends, for this entire time. So, cry me a river, sorry, not sorry. And I've been experiencing the kind of retaliation tactics that she's just now learning about for 3 or 4 years now, because I wouldn't play the game and I didn't just take the money and run, right? Oh, man. All right. So I forgot to even set a goal today. I'm just going to put overtime, and we have a goal of 50 super chats at $2 or better. Speaking of money, right? But before anybody is in my comments complaining, I'm telling people the truth here. We're not taking money for selling out. And it's interesting that I still get occasionally somebody with some snide comment like, "Well, you have these goals." Yeah, we're a viewer supported show, and we want to take a moment to welcome some kind and generous people. And I also want to mention that I did indeed give give the link to the audio that we're going to be sharing of this Lue Elizondo live event to several much bigger journalists than me, and I hope that they'll be able to really spread an awareness of this. Pentaxenstein says, "Greetings, anti-Lue crew." So we'll recognize some kind and generous people. Sorry, I forgot to put the goal up. Wreaking Havoc 215. People have crossed the line to blindly defend Lue's lies. Yeah, people are literally willing to commit felonies to defend this false UFO messiah. Maybe she has the gorilla grip sniz, Steve. Yeah, I mean, she's got to have something. Thank you for your kindness. Apollinia, oh, how do I even say that? Apollinia Pavlova with $2. What are your thoughts on Stephen Greer? I did a 12-hour deep dive recently. You can go there. He's the most successful grifting UFO guy. But he's a total loser, liar, scammer. He sells people flares. Big props to Cobra Cambion and Mick West, says Pentaxenstein. Well, thank you for your kindness. We're trying to get. There's another one. Shout out to the nut jobs in the chat. I can't with the woo. Yes. And I did have one other thing that's funny that I wanted to share about disclosure bros that defend people like Lue Elizondo. Good evening, everyone. Hope all is well, says Flint Westwood. Well, all is well now that you're here. So thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support. We'll be reading the Kick subs and gifted subs, PayPal pledges. We read all the super chats. So let me also share this because, see, this false idea of disclosure that these people have been pushing, some people have been pushing this for 30 years and disclosure never comes and things never change, right? But we do occasionally, we get to see a glimpse of it, right? We get to see a glimpse. And it's funny. I played this one time before, and this is somebody called UFO Joe, who is a Kool-Aid drinking cult member. But even he came out recently and said he doesn't believe any longer that Lue ran a real government program. But this guy's been banging around for 30 years talking about disclosures coming any day now. Maybe it'll come. This is a clip from 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. This is the same guy that's telling everybody disclosures coming this year or whatever he's saying now, most recently. He's a total wackadoo loser nut job. He had a public access UFO show in like the 90s talking about disclosure. Here's a clip.
Joe Murgia. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
I don't know, after a couple of years of Disclosure 98, Disclosure 99, Disclosure 2000, I think we're closer than ever.
I know we talk about
so maybe this isn't 30 years old, but it's going on. It's 20 plus years.
disclosure, and are we going to get there?
And, let's see.
I know we talk about disclosure, and are we going to get there? And I'm not holding my breath. I'm not crossing my fingers. I'm just going to let's see what happens this year. I don't know if it'll happen or not. If the Department of Defense comes out and says, yes, we do have information on that particular event or this particular event. One of the, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you got to hear the audio from one of the astronauts, but it was Houston, we have a sighting of an unidentified flying object. Maybe the craft is creating, Hal Puthoff, that's another name, a physicist out in California, talks about them creating a sort of a gravitational field surrounding the craft.
Joe Murgia.
Yeah. He's mentions Hal Puthoff in this, and Lue Elizondo's book may as well have been, Hal Puthoff told me, hey, the aliens, Roswell was really aliens, and what is Elizondo's source for that? Well, Hal Puthoff told me it was aliens, so it must be aliens. He's like the granddaddy grifter of them all, been involved in free energy scams, anti-gravity scams, the TTSA scam. All these wackadoos love him. But I just wanted to play this to show you that these disclosure bros have been at this for decades. And it never comes. There's no disclosure because most of these wackadoos have no goddamn evidence, Joe. But even that guy, a wackadoo that he is, finally smarted up and realized, oh yeah, this Lue Elizondo guy lied and he never actually ran a UFO program. And I'm sure he got shit for that and he walked it back. And by the way, I hear this Kelly girl's walking back some of her comments about Elizondo, right? One second. Thank you, Simon Fly. Somebody's telling me that my mic level is very low. I just did a guest appearance yesterday and I forgot to check it, so I apologize. Just give me one moment. Oh, yeah, it's really low. All right, hold on one second. One moment here. We'll change those levels. Oh, yeah, look at that. Somebody put me way down. That should be better now, friends. I apologize and thank you. Thank you, Simon Fly, for letting me know. It's good to have people monitoring the live broadcast. These mistakes happen. We're a live show. We roll with the punches here. But I'm glad that we figured that out before we get to the main event. And I'm sorry. I've been trying to watch the live chat, but having a little bit of trouble. There's $1 from Dave, £1 from Dave Whiteman. Thank you. And Last Minute Lacey with $2. Thank you for exposing Corey Good. It has been my pleasure. But of course, other people deserve a lot of credit for that as well. Mighty Pinkus with 2 more weeks. Trust the plan, guys. Yeah, disclosure's coming any day now. I could still hear, but it was low. Yeah. Yeah. So, 1 second here. Let me check into. Let me welcome in the Kick live chat and welcome them to the live broadcast. I want to thank all of you Kick.com people for becoming members and becoming subs, I should say, and gifting subs as well. It's very, very kind of you, and we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Okay, so I have shared this leaked audio, and the purpose of tonight's broadcast is to show you what's behind the curtain. This Lue Elizondo clown has been running around pretending to be a Pentagon UFO guy for years now, and he has essentially, here's how the dance works. He pretends that he has top secret insider government knowledge about aliens and UFOs. But all he ever talks about is shit that anybody can find on the internet, which means or should reveal to most people that aren't morons that this guy has no real new information. Everything that he gets is from the internet. He just like you and me, he just looks up UFO crap on the internet, and that's what he talks about. CSK. Cambrian cat never dies. Sweep the griff leg. Says CSK. Thank you. And thanks for putting a smile on my face. Thank you for your kindness. And so we are 4 to the goal of 50. Well, we're slowly going to get through this. So I'm not even sure how much of this audio I want to get through. I am going to post it on its own for the benefit of you people. And let me just be very clear on something. Occasionally, when I do these commentaries over things, people will be in the comments complaining that I'm talking over it and they're having trouble hearing the original audio. But this is a catch-22. In order to make this a transformative work and qualify under fair use practices, I have to talk over it. I can't just, I mean, I guess I could play it for 5 seconds, then talk 5 seconds, 5 seconds. It would take me 5 hours to get through an hour that way. So we do our best. I will be posting this original audio for the benefit of those who just want to listen to it without me speaking over it. I get that. So we always try to be a public benefit, and for the public benefit, we will be sharing that separately. Detective is throwing one for the goal and says, praise the cash. Kelly Chase seems to be partnering up with Whitley Strieber, another grifter. She hosts his show sometimes. Yeah, we interviewed him once, and it was funny. That guy started talking about anal probes and stuff. It was really funny. I found him to be a nice guy. People say he's a grifter. I get it. The guy was a fiction writer before he suddenly decided he was talking to aliens and wrote books about that. Yeah, praise the volume, says Skyprop. Well, we have to get. I should have withheld the volume until we got more donos, right? That's what I should have done. So we're going to be sharing this Elizondo leaked audio separately, but we're going to do our commentary bit over it tonight. And I don't even know how much of this I'm going to get through, because to be here, I'm sorry if this is a letdown for some people, but Lue Elizondo's live show is a snooze fest of garbage. There, I said it. Everything he talks about is like lifted from other UFO grifters. You know, like, for example, he uses that talking point about how many stars there are in the sky and how many galaxies there are in the universe, and therefore there has to be alien life somewhere. This is a long used UFO talking point that all the UFO people use. You know, like somebody say, well, do you really believe there's life on other planets? And then they go into that talking point. Well, the number of stars in the sky. He uses that one. He uses all of this kind of stuff. And what you'll notice as we go through this is that everything he talks about, I guess with the exception of the 3 videos that he stole, borrowed, whatever, out of the Pentagon, which were nothing burgers, because he knew those were about drones, balloons, and unmanned aerial vehicles, not aliens. He knew that. It was right on the release form. With the exception of those 3 videos, everything he talks about in this is all stuff that I believe he just looks up on the internet. Now, there's a few things that he talks about that I can't say that about. He claims he went into a skiff with certain people in the government. We don't know, but I don't trust anything he says. And we also know for a fact that he says some things in this that are categorically 100% factually wrong. And he's doing that while he's collecting money from morons. So if you want to be a Lue Elizondo moron and give him money for this piss poor talk, I've heard better talks from people that have only been in UFOs for 2 years. And he apparently pretends to be some kind of an expert. And by the way, thanks to Phil J on Twitter for this lovely graphic. It's too boring with just an audio file. So we had to do a little bit of work on this. And by the way, I have cleaned it up the best that I can. But what I have experienced, and maybe it's just my ears, in order to hear him the most clearly, it really does help to wear headphones while you're listening to this. And somebody has already asked me some questions that I'd rather not answer about the source, where this came from. It came from a truth seeker who wishes to remain anonymous, who attended this event. And just for the record, the announcer at the venue does say no video recording and no photography during the performance, but they didn't say anything about audio recording. So there you have it. All right, and we'll hear that right at the beginning.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin.
Oh, and by the way, just before we begin, I wanted to make sure that I don't miss this point. This is actually a dinner theater, right, where he's doing his thing. And, you know, I just want to say, I don't want to shit on Lue Elizondo too much. Maybe that's the best gigs that he could get, talking about UFOs at a dinner theater. But yo, for real, I did dinner theater in my younger years. I did dinner theater, and it is the worst gig that if you can't get a gig, you take a dinner theater gig. And here's why. While you're trying to do your performance, people are more concerned with their roast beef and mashed potatoes or whatever they're getting on the menu that night. They don't pay attention because they're eating. And I know for a fact that while he's giving this entire talk, everybody's shoving food down their throats, filling their faces. They're not really, what I heard from the attendee is that people weren't really paying attention to him very much, but the food was very good. So there you go. Lue Elizondo is second fiddle to good dinner theater dinner, right? At least the food was good. That's what the person who got this for us has reported.
Please take this time to silence your cell phones. Flash photography and video recording of any kind are strictly prohibited at city wineries. In this acoustically treated room, even a small side conversation can be distracting to the artist as well as your neighbor.
Lue Elizondo is a UFO artist, The announcer just said that you got to turn off your cell phone because it would be distracting, and don't have conversations because it's distracting to the artist. Lue Elizondo is an artist, all right. He's a bullshit artist.
On behalf of our owner and founder, Michael Dorff, and all of us here at City Winery, we hope you enjoy the show. Now please welcome to the stage, Lue Elizondo.
Wow, rousing applause, though. I'll give him that. From the 100 people that were there, maybe.
Well, hello, everybody.
And he starts off his presentation, and look, all I can do is view things through my own lens, right? And I learned about show business from good show business people. He makes a cardinal mistake right here at the beginning, which is basically like, give yourselves a big hand of applause. Like he's blowing the audience, trying to gain some kind of rapport with them, and it doesn't go over good, in my opinion. You should never open a show the way he does here. But he's an amateur hour dwarf. What are you going to do?
What a fantastic reception, and thank you all for being here with me this evening, and thank you for allowing me to be here with you.
And for those that have asked, this is from his recent live performance at a dinner theater in Chicago, Illinois.
A couple housekeeping things first, if I could just take a quick moment. I'd like to thank the staff here for putting this for everybody and having a nice meal for everybody. So if we could put our hands together for a moment.
This is the cheapest way to get applause at the beginning of a performance ever. Like, hey, everybody give it up for the wait staff. Yeah.
Secondly, if I could get a show of hands here, who is either former or
this is riveting so far, right?
Okay, keep your hands up. Who here is either a former or current?
You hear everybody with their forks? You hear more forks?
Anybody as well? Okay, medical field?
People are chowing down.
Excellent. Who here is a school teacher or has been a school teacher? I'd like to offer you a round of applause. Thank you for your service. And when I said military, I also meant our law enforcement. So I didn't want to leave anybody out. But thank you very much for what you do and for our society.
Jesus, why doesn't he thank the accountants and the lawyers too? What are you thanking school teachers for? That's just their job. I can see. I don't want to be too critical.
Very much. So, with that said,
and I was stricken with this audio recording that throughout this whole thing, you hear all this fork noises as people are filling their faces while this loser fake Pentagon UFO program director pretends to be somebody important on a stage. I love it. Loser!
Boy, we're going to have a neat dinner tonight. We're going to have lots of stuff for you, lots of eye candy. We're going to get into all sorts of conversations about your favorite topic, the UAP topic, and where we are today. Now, I do a lot of these talks, but the topic is evolving so fast that there's so much more information to talk about. So this conversation I'm having with you is actually evolving as we have this conversation. Things are happening even today.
Yeah. While you're busy eating, not really paying attention to my talk here, it's evolving.
If you saw the newspaper article in The Hill, Congress and the administration, politics aside, but the new administration is taking this topic very, very seriously. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to begin to see some real transparency.
He said this about every incoming administration. He said it about Trump when he hit his first term and won. He said it about Biden when Biden had won his first term. And now he's saying it about Trump. It's doublespeak. It's just nonsense. Oh, the administration is really taking this seriously, so we're definitely getting disclosure in the next couple of years. It's another false reality talking point from a loser that's been grifting off of this and hasn't had a real job since what, 2016, Lou? Oh, no. Later, he claims that he worked at Space Force. And I don't understand why we can't get a straight answer out of the government. Did he or did he not ever work for Space Force? As a direct employee, as a direct hire, as a contractor, as a consultant? Why can't we get an answer? Did he work for Space Force?
Also, at the end of this presentation, we're going to open it up for questions. There's no restrictions. You can ask me anything you want.
And here it comes.
And I will give you the answer. And if I don't have the answer, I will tell you I don't know, or I can't tell you because it's classified.
Yeah, that's his out for any question he doesn't want to answer. He just says, well, that's classified. I can't go that far, you know. But we know from the Aero report there are no NDAs specific to UAP or UFOs. None. And he mentions NDAs that he had to sign during this, which is another, I believe, bold-faced lie.
But there's no questions off the table. So I just want to make sure everybody here knows. Can everybody in the back?
Yeah, I guarantee if I would have went to this event and started asking about the millions of dollars that him and Tom DeLonge scammed out of investors and his buddies, allegedly, they wouldn't let me ask those questions. I'd be thrown out of. I probably would have gotten thrown out of the event before the question period.
Can you hear me okay?
Unless I disguised myself. I was thinking about going, but I just didn't want to make the trip.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. So let's go ahead and start the presentation because we've got a lot of stuff to cover. And by the way, what you're going to see here, in some cases, has been presented to Congress. In some cases, have been presented to former cabinet officials.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot to get through. He's got public domain videos that he found on the internet and some pictures, and then he's got stories. He doesn't have a lot to get through. He's really stretching for this whole not even 2-hour appearance.
They were in office, and it's I think it's fairly relevant, and it should be eye-opening. A lot of the stuff you're going to see here tonight, we haven't really discussed publicly, and hopefully it will spark some conversation with you all. So, with no further ado.
To my knowledge, there was nothing original with the exception of maybe a debunk that he showed. There was nothing original that hasn't been talked about before in this presentation. Now, maybe that's just my opinion, but I don't know. I really listened. I try to listen intently, but I start falling asleep to this thing because I will admit, this is some slop. I'm showing my audience slop. This is the sloppiest, shittiest UFO talk I've ever heard in my life from a so-called Pentagon UFO expert. He's a fraud.
Let's do a little test here before we start getting into the actual UAP stuff. I'm going to show you a slide, and I'd like you to kind of think to yourself, what do these individuals all have in common? Take a moment, take a look. These are individuals that are separated in some cases by millennia, right? Thousands of years apart. Different continents, so geographically they're separated. They're separated by race and religion and sex. So what do these people have in common?
Oh, they all saw a UFO, so that must mean that aliens are here.
Good, that's right, cutting edge. They challenged the status quo. They were willing to step outside of the accepted norms of society at the time. And for those of you who are teachers, who raise your hands, this is very important because
it's not that important.
Is how you do real academic research. This is how you do real scientific research.
Yeah, the guy who just got caught, what was it, a month or two ago, selling a fake UFO photo of a chandelier claiming it was an alien mothership is now lecturing an audience about how to do real scientific research. Great.
It's actually thinking outside the box. It's being willing to challenge the accepted norms of what we have been told as a society, right? And be willing to stand up and say, you know what? I don't think so. I like to add this in here for my fellow academics who
he's an academic.
Trust the science.
He's an academic. This clown that once claimed with his group of idiot friends, morons from TTSA, that they may have pieces of alien spaceships. And that turned out to be a missile casing. This clown's going to talk about his fellow academics when one of the TTS people, Christopher Mellon, stood next to a photo of a 1-year-old party balloon claiming it was an alien spaceship, is going to talk about being so scientific and academic. I don't think so, bro. I do not think so.
When we trusted the science, we had things like leeching therapy and lobotomies, right? So trusting the science isn't always a smart thing to do. I think we should challenge science.
Was he trusting the science when he showed everybody a picture of a chandelier reflected off of an apartment window and claimed it was an alien mothership, and that he talked to the pilots that saw the alien mothership, but he couldn't have because it wasn't an alien mothership and it was never a real object in the sky?
And I think we should always ask the hard question. Be okay with asking the hard questions, not only to ourselves.
Yeah, ask hard questions, but nobody that interviews him is allowed to ask him hard questions. Like, hey, what happened to those millions of dollars that you and your friends took those investors for, allegedly, at TTSA? What happened to those millions, right?
But amongst our peers and our friends, because that's how...
Or why did you lie to the New York Times and say you ran a funded program?
That's how we advance as a society. So UAPs and artificial intelligence. I've asked sometimes, in fact, I just did a little X here, it is what's called Twitter before, where somebody asked me, what is the relationship, if any, between artificial intelligence and UAPs? So
all right, so far, all we got, we're 5 minutes in, all we got is, hey, how about a hand for the wait staff? And hey, if you were a veteran, let's give you a hand. And if you were a teacher. And now he's into what is just, philosophical speculation. This guy is no expert on anything.
I'm going to share something with you. I'm about to show you a real video. This was provided to us by an Army officer. I'm not going to say where exactly it was taken, but it was taken on a military base where you're not supposed to have cameras. But of course,
spooky.
He used his iPhone to take a picture. Now, what he reported seeing, before I show you this, but we're going to see the video in a second, he said, Lou, I walked out of the medical office. He was a medical officer. He said, I looked over the horizon and I saw what looked like this hovering, you're not going to believe it, this hovering black UFO, this hovering black disc. And so I took out my iPhone and I took a video of it. Now you're going to see in the video here.
Yeah, and I apologize. We couldn't get a video recording because that was prohibited, apparently.
But this is the video. We're going to watch it in a second. It's very short. These are the facts behind the actual video. So as a military officer taken on a U.S. military base, again, to protect the military officer, I'm not going to reveal his identity or the specific base. It was in California.
Yeah, remember, if you're going to have a UFO witness, make him a military person because that makes it more believable and credible.
And it was a sensitive military facility. And the video is legitimate. Now you're going to see, because of the compression issue with the video, you're going to say, well, that's kind of grainy. But we actually did a still of this, and you're going to see something. So this is the video, and you can see, if you zoom in, there's going to see a little kind of a black thing out there, and you really can't tell what it is when you're looking at the video.
Yeah, because he's got a grainy-ass video, as he always does.
Whoa, right? Hey, you're right. That looks like a black disc of some sort. I have no idea what that is, but that is strange. Now, he reported it, this object kind of hovering in the distance, completely silent. So what we did is we actually applied an artificial intelligence algorithm to try to figure out what exactly is going on here. So we applied the AI, and what it did is it noticed that there were some objects in the background.
Yeah, and I just want to say this one thing.
Pixelation-wise, with the objects.
The use of AI enhancement on videos or photos is extremely problematic because the people that are employing the AI usually don't even know what exactly the AI is doing to enhance it. And when you let an AI just add things to an image that aren't there, that's a problem.
The shapes, the geometry of the foreground. Now, the video was not manipulated, and it is a real video, but something here is a little bit off. And then what we did is we asked the AI to look at the object itself, and it noticed something that the human eye couldn't pick up. What appeared to be some sort of either landing gear or protrusions or something coming, extending from this thing. One might expect some sort of perhaps landing gear, I guess. So we asked the AI, okay, in your best capability, so to speak, what are we looking at? Well, the objects in the background are likely a C-17 loadmaster.
Is anybody else falling asleep already?
Cargo aircraft. Also an F-35 Joint Strike Fighter with an 85% certainty. And then what appears to be two other aircraft kind of crossing in the background. So what we're looking at here is a flight line on a military base. So then we asked the AI to give us its assessment of what it sees over here. And by the way, yes, there's protrusions coming from this object, whatever it is. That's what it is. That's right. It's an Army tent. doing air flight operations on a military base with the sides rolled up.
All right. So he just got caught with an easily debunkable UFO photo claiming it was an alien mothership. And this is the very, I believe it is the very next performance after he was caught stunningly showing people completely easily provable fake UFO photos that was a chandelier as a mothership. So I guess he had to replace that part of his presentation with this. And like, yeah, see, I debunk when it's just an ordinary object. No, you don't. Not usually, Lue Elizondo, because you're a scumbag, right? It's only after you just keep getting caught with fake shit that now you're going to act like you really do your due diligence. And if something's ordinary, you tell the truth. What about the Go Fast? You were saying that thing was doing how many miles an hour for how many years? It was doing 40 miles an hour. You were too dumb to figure that out. Basic trigonometry could have figured that out. He's an expert.
That's what the Army officer saw. So why is that important? Well, because when you are briefing members of Congress about the reality of UAP, you have to be very, very certain that what you're briefing is actually legitimate. Now, you can imagine if this picture...
And I know for a fact that he has shown people completely fake pictures of UFOs before. In one case, when he was trying to get a documentary film deal, he was showing people completely fake pictures of UFOs acting like they were alien spaceships. And that's from a very, very good source. Take from that what you will. It's a single source story, I guess, but I trust that that person was telling me the truth. And when they showed me what he was showing them, I just laughed about it because it was such fake nonsense that he's showing people while claiming to be, a big UFO expert and trying to get more money deals. We want to thank Gome with one for the goal. Praise the cash. And we want to thank Flint Westwood with one for the goal. Off-topic question. What's your favorite metal band? Well, I mean, it depends on what you determine what you think of as metal. I would say I really like Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne the best if it comes to metal, or what I would consider metal. Was never a big Metallica fan or any of the thrash metal stuff, but I sure always really loved and enjoyed Ozzy growing up. My brother was a big Black Sabbath fan when we were little kids, and then when Ozzy went solo, he had all of Ozzy's solo first few albums anyway on vinyl, like Bark at the Moon and things like that. And we shared a bedroom, my brother and I did, and one record player. But it was my brother's record player, so he always got to decide what was on the record player. But it was good because he had very good taste in music, my brother did. Pentaxenstein, do you ever walk barefoot on Legos to hit the goal? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Well, add it to the list, Pentaxenstein, and thank you. And Pepsi Pimp with another for the goal. Weekly application for Felting DSP, you legend. Well, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., we'll have an update on all things Darkside Phil. I can't believe he's getting destroyed by a hot girl streamer, right? And by the way, I apologize. I called her a lesbian. She apparently is bisexual. I just saw that she was kissing a girl on her Twitter on Valentine's Day. She posts pictures of that, and I mistakenly mislabeled her. So she is bisexual, which to me makes her even cooler. But not really, though, because I once had a couple of times I had a bisexual girlfriend, and I didn't like it too much. Well, I like that you could look at girls together and go like, yeah, that girl's like, I would go to the club and go, well, that girl's hot. And the bi girlfriend would agree with me, or she would point out girls and say, do you think she's hot? Do you like her? And it was weird adjustment, like talking about a girl's rack with another girl that was into that. But eventually I decided I didn't like it because you have to compete with both sexes, and that's a tough thing to do. Last minute Lacey with 2 and 1 for the goal says the UFO and ET thing is spiritual but not religious. Many people think that, and I can't say that I disagree. A lot of people think that this is all consciousness based, and when people think they're being abducted by aliens, it's all in their mind. Criminal Restreamer with 1 for the goal. We love this Criminal Restreamer. He is a criminal according to Darkside Phil because he restreams Darkside Phil crap. I don't think he's a criminal. Mighty Pingus with 2. People casually chatting in the background. Yeah, they're trying to eat their dinner. Half of them are women that their husbands drugged to this thing. Pentaxenstein with 1 for the goal. Let me guess. The UFO had 7 fingers. I don't know anything about a 7-fingered UFO, Pentaxenstein, but thank you for 1 for the goal. And Nightshade with 9.99. Go back to Wilcock. He's been talking a lot of shit about you last week. Yes. For those unaware, David Wilcock is now saying that I stole $4,000 out of his checking account. I broke the dude's brain. It's getting crazy out here. And we will address and talk about all that on Saturday night. I like to do my streams the day before he does his, because then he doesn't have like a full 4 days or week to come up with new lies to cover the truth that I'm telling people. We like to crunch him. It's a psychological tactic. After my show, he's only got a few short hours, less than 24 hours to come up with new lies to cover the truth that I'm telling people, or new accusations of me being a Satan-worshiping criminal, extortionist, terrorist, thief, right? It's ridiculous. Nightshade, thank you very much for your kindness, generosity, and support. And we have Mighty Pingus with 5 who says, I thought the UFO Ethan Ralph, but he's UFO Teddy Feezer. His personality is like a gray smear on the wall. Brutal. So boring. I agree, Mighty Pingus. This guy's presentation is the most boring. I can say this. It is the most boring UFO presentation I've ever listened to in my entire life. And I've been into this stuff since I was a little kid.
Sure, got out on the internet some time ago, right? Out into the ether and all.
So he debunks the last photo. It wasn't a UFO. Great.
Sorts of conspiracies would be generated from that. Oh, this is one of the best videos ever of the UFO. Nope, it's a 10, right? So that's important. And we have to be our own worst critics. So keep that in mind. So before we get really into the UFO topic itself, I'd like to do a practical exercise.
Yeah, this guy, the other thing that struck me while I was listening to all this is that this guy is about as charismatic and engaging with an audience as a rock. It just somebody just mentioned, he just has the personality of like a gray blob on the wall.
You all. And
he's not built for this. He's just not a good grifter. He's not very convincing. I don't know.
But it won't count. So I want you all quietly, silently, think of a ship. Okay. I want you to think of a ship. Let's wait a couple seconds here. Ship.
I don't know.
Okay.
I thought the good ship Lollipop.
Don't raise your hands. There's a reason. Don't raise your hands. Who thought of a sailing ship or a cruise ship? Give yourself a D. How many thought of an airship, a blimp, a dirigible? Hopefully you're learning your lesson here, right? Don't show your hands. Give yourself a D+. All right, who thought of a spaceship, a starship, something like that? Right? That's what I was thinking. Give yourself a C-. How many of you thought?
He's speaking like he's talking to children, or is it just me?
Of censorship, friendship. I didn't ask you what type of ship.
I love all the fork noises while this guy's trying to be a big UFO star. What a loser doing a dinner theater about UFOs.
I just said in your mind, give a ship, think of a ship, right?
And by the way, when I did dinner theater, I eventually got so sick of the people eating during the performance that I talked the manager into letting the people eat and then bring out the desserts, and I'll start right when the desserts come out. And that went much, much better because at least they were done with their entree and they were relaxed. They were, coffee time, and they were much better audience that way. He ought to try.
So what I'm showing here is the analytic bias that we are all subject to as human beings. And so we have to be very careful when someone says to you.
So again, all this is philosophical.
What do you think about the topic of UAP? Well, what do you mean? That's a huge topic. And we all have these preconceived notions and narratives of what we think a UAP or a UFO is. And we change, of course, the definition so often from UFO to UAP, and now UAP has changed several iterations as well as far as its definition. So we are as being a human being, we are products of our own bias, and we can't help it. That is human nature to be that way. But we have to recognize that urge to jump to some sort of conclusion. So let's talk about social stigma, something that anybody who's ever following UAP or UFO,
anybody hear any unique information, like UFO information that they haven't heard before? I haven't. It's all philosophical ramblings of some lunatic, fake Pentagon program director, right?
Something about the taboo of the topic.
This more than anything proves that he's just an entertainer, and a bad one at that. He's not even entertaining.
Itself, right? UFOs and tinfoil hats and Elvis on the mothership and little green men, right? Well, we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about.
Oh, thank God, we're going to talk about that.
Para. Okay, we use it often in the English language to describe things, and it means, by definition, above or beside. So, when I say the word parachute, what do you think of? Any of my former military folks will tell you, right? It kind of reminds you of something like that. Helps you hit the ground with a thump and hopefully not a thud. And generally,
he's going to spend 5 minutes here explaining the meaning of the word paranormal.
Especially if you are in the military.
I think if anybody plopped down the money for this, they know what paranormal means. So he's clearly like I said, during this entire thing, I kept getting the impression that he has no material and he's just stretching for time any way possible.
And if I say to you, paramedic, what comes to mind? Remember, I asked him here, who's been a first responder, right? Heroes. Think of a medic, a lifesaver, above or beside you that's providing life-saving support. And that's what we think of, right? Paramedic. So let me ask you this. When I say the word paranormal, what do you think? Right? You know what happens? Half of you look at me with your head cocked slightly.
Yeah, so we're 5 minutes on what the word paranormal means. Great.
Kind of like my dogs do when I ask them.
It's really giving these people their money's worth. Well, at least they got a decent meal out of it, right? The talk was worth nothing, but I hope the meal was worth whatever they paid, because this talk is garbage.
Right? And they had this sly little smile, baby, like, what do you mean paranormal? I mean paranormal. What I mean is that there's no difference between the word parachute, paramedic, and paranormal. The problem is that society has told you that the word paranormal means something like that. Okay? Something that we don't understand.
He just said that parachute and paranormal are no different.
Yeah, but I would submit to you, everything in science, in the history of human existence, was once considered paranormal until it becomes normal. Your cell phone, your laptop computers, any of you that work from home and use Zoom, all that was considered magic.
Oh, God. Again, philosophical ramblings and nonsense. Nothing original.
Concepts historically once considered paranormal.
Same talking points other grifters use.
Conversation about the UAP topic.
He's been hanging out at UFO shows too much.
As being paranormal. But is it? Lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, they were considered paranormal. The Mayans and the Aztecs would predict these with such certainty that they could use it to influence their populations.
Oh my God. And when I say these are the same kind of talking points that all of these guys use, it's true. We've all heard this stuff before, right? Like, technology that's really far in advance is indistinguishable from magic. It's the same talking points.
Photography, the Yanomami tribe. You can see the fellow in the back is not very happy that he's having his picture taken, and perhaps his soul being collected and stored on a piece of paper.
What does this have to do with UAP or UFOs?
Right? Of course, we think it's silly, but to this fella and the one behind him, it's not so silly. Acupuncture. I remember a time I was in the medical program at University of Miami studying microbiology and immunology. And I remember my professor distinctly telling me, and telling the class, acupuncture is Eastern medicine, and it's paranormal, it's hogwash. Now, at the Department of Veterans Affairs, we actually prescribe acupuncture to our wounded veterans for pain therapy.
Okay.
The fact that we didn't understand it, we automatically put in a little garbage can we call paranormal. But it's simply because we didn't understand the concept. Tonic immobility.
He's trying to justify the UFO paranormal stigma,
In reality,
I guess.
this is a biophysical capability, and it's also an aspect of a lot of animals share. Sharks, when you turn them upside down, they get very, very kind of quiet and calm. Same with alligators. Chickens have the same thing.
I'd pay money to see this clown turn a shark or an alligator upside down.
Neurological.
Where is he getting this?
It's not paranormal, folks. It's just biology. So now we've talked about some of these definitions we have imposed upon ourselves, but let's look at now some of the limitations we as human beings have innately. All of us, every single one of us. I don't care where you're from, I don't care what race.
All right, 15 minutes in, and so far we got a debunk of a fake UFO and him waxing poetically and philosophically about nonsense. Well worth the cost of admission so far.
Religion, color, sex, anything you are, we all are limited by these couple things. You have your quantum mechanics, dark matter, and the multiverse, right? These are concepts that lie beyond our current understanding of the universe. There was a time we thought that all of the universe followed the same rules and principles, and this was brought by Newtonian physics by Sir Isaac Newton, right? Force equals mass times acceleration, and things like gravity.
Oh, God.
Second squared.
Oh,
then
God.
Then a guy with crazy hair named Einstein says, well, actually, believe it or not.
See, here's where I have a problem with this, because people paid money because this guy pretends to be like a government insider and he's going to share what the government knows about aliens and UFOs. And then you get there and this is the garbage that he's telling you, the same garbage that every other UFO clown tells audiences. Grider, who is appraised, has gifted 5 Truth Seekers memberships, and this, my friends, is why you should subscribe to our channel right now, because if you are unaware, when a kind and generous person like Grider gifts free memberships like he just did, they get randomly distributed to people who are watching in our live chat who are subscribers but not yet members. In order to get the free membership, you have to be a subscriber. And thanks to the kindness, generosity, and support of Grider, Freezy Pop was gifted a free membership. Right Mad Mod was gifted a free membership. Archduke Instinct, longtime show supporter, was gifted a free membership. The Division was gifted a free membership, and Hypno Toad was gifted a free membership. So, wow, thank Grider for the kindness, generosity, and support. It really does help, and you too can become a YouTube channel member for as little as $5 a month. You get some extra goodies, and you help support the show. Thank you very much. For Ambulax says, I have seen more exciting Amway presentations. It's real. This is some, I'm sorry. I want to apologize. Look, I got to apologize. I want to apologize to my audience for sharing this slop. But our hope is that people will wake up and realize that this grifting clown has nothing original. It's all just garbage that he takes off the internet. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole presentation was written by somebody else. Mighty Pingus with 2. Substitute 3rd grade teacher vibes. Yeah, it's bad. This is bad, right? All right. Thank you, Arlene Atkins. You be responsible, and you have a blessed night as well. And that's what replays are for. So let's continue with the slop. I mean, exclusive presentation.
Space and time are connected. In fact, the fabric of space itself and time is flexible. You can compress it, you can stretch it.
Now he's gonna do the physics talk. Where is he gonna show the piece of paper with the 2 points and put them together like everybody does too?
And if that wasn't mind bending enough, along comes quantum mechanics.
Oh, he's gonna talk about clocks and the nature of time. Yeah, boy, this is really giving people their money's worth.
Says, believe it or not,
Pentagon UFO expert, my ass.
In fact, you can be in 2 places at once. In fact, there's these things called duality principle. There are these things that occur at a very small level of our universe that fundamentally shouldn't happen, and yet that is the way reality actually is.
He just said you could be in two places at once, and I bet you half this audience is that's sitting there listening to this drivel wish they were somewhere else.
So let's talk about our 5 fundamental senses by which we judge and look at the universe.
Oh, now he's going to give you. So we've gotten a physics lesson, a lesson on space time. Now he's going to give you a lesson on your own senses. Just
5 fundamental senses.
riveting material he has.
Anything beyond that,
Riveting material.
We can't interact with. We have to have equipment and technology that allows us to do that. So, for example, vision. Everything we're seeing here this evening, this wonderful table and the wonderful dinner and our friends and families and the wine and the beautiful candles on the table. Everything here we are perceiving through a very, very, very narrow lens of the electromagnetic spectrum we call visible light, electro-optical spectrum.
Oh, God.
0.0.
This may be the first time I fall asleep on my own show. God, this is just torturous. It gets a little better soon, I think, as best I recall.
That's not 0.35. It's not 0.035. 0.0035% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum is all we can perceive. Anything above that or below that, we will never know it's there. If you had cell phone vision, where you could see in Wi-Fi and perhaps AM and FM signals and look at things such as GPS, you would see an entirely different reality around you. And yet,
sounds like a guy who's smoked up, right? You ever be at a party or something and some guy smokes up too much and then he starts telling you shit like this? You're like, yeah, oh man, like we only perceive a portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, or we only use 2% of our actual brain capacity. Did you know? Yeah, that's what he sounds like here. He sounds like a high guy.
We are limited in what we can perceive.
He's getting very excited though.
This is all we have to judge nature around us and our reality, our current paradigm. So here's an image of using an optical telescope versus infrared. You can see a whole lot more, and that's just one piece of the spectrum right below vision, right before we can see into the red band of the electro-optical spectrum.
I don't know if he's going to, sort of thread the needle here and say like, well, maybe UFOs are at another part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and that's why we can't perceive them all the time. Just sometimes when they enter into our perceivable senses, I don't know.
Right, imagine if you could see X-ray or gamma or radio waves, right? Like a radio telescope. I live in Wyoming. Beautiful unoccluded skies. Come to my house sometime, take a look at the stars, and we'll sit there and just marvel at it. Now look at that same piece of sky through a radio telescope. And you're going to see an entirely different reality. You're going to see nebulae. You're going to see star formations that you could not see with the human eye, even with the very best optical telescopes, because most of the universe lies beyond our ability to actually perceive it. We are limited biologically. Now, let's talk about size, because it's not just a perception thing. The universe is almost incomprehensibly huge. Just how big is the known universe? Well, let's look at it.
Now he's going to give us an astrophysics lesson.
When you have a moment, get on Google and type in the words pale blue dot. And what you're going to see is the Voyager spacecraft turning around on one of its last missions and taking a selfie. So you're going to see this. When you first look at the picture, it's just going to look like nothing. It's like a black field. And then when you really pay attention, you see a little tiny fuzzy, maybe 1 or 2 pixels long, blue fuzzy dot. Everything you've ever learned, every person that's ever lived, every person that's ever died, every war that's ever been fought, everyone that's ever loved anyone or hated anyone.
Boy, wow, we're really waxing poetic here, aren't we?
Tiny little pale blue dot, and that is Earth.
Oh, so he's showing a picture of Earth in his presentation. Great. Great.
Right. And what happens when we look at a particular part of the sky with our telescopes that seem to have nothing there? We find, okay, that little part there,
thank you.
That's total blackness. There's
I am familiar with this, actually. The End is Near Beware says, no, I have mentioned them before in Post-it Lyrics, but I love the band Clutch. They formed around you, I believe. Ever listened to them? if not listened to the album Spacegrass. Yes, I have listened to them. And yeah, and I appreciate you reminding me. I'll put them on my listen list. I have a listen list. Thank you. The end is near. Beware. And we are at, let's see, we're at 19 of the goal. Even with this snooze fest slop I'm giving you people, you are good people. Thank you. The end is near. Beware with another one for the goal with Spacegrass song is on its self-titled album Clutch. All right, I'll check it out. And people are saying, yeah, Clutch is one of my favorites, and people saying I love them. I'll put them on my list. I have a listen list. Usually I like to really listen to whole albums when I have time, but I haven't been driving back and forth to the cabin. I'm hoping I'm going to go to the cabin next week for the first time in a month or two here.
No stars, no galaxies.
My neighbor from the cabin contacted me, told me that the weather's really breaking up there, so it's going to be a good time to go next week, but I got to get some work done on my car in the meantime.
Galaxies here. Let's take a look at the James Webb Telescope or one of these other telescopes, Hubble, and let's see what we can see. We see galaxies with trillions of stars.
And here's the argument that I talked about in the beginning of the broadcast. Okay, so yes, there's trillions of stars. So, you know, to UFO people, that's proof there has to be life out there. And I have to say, it's a convincing argument. If there's no other intelligent life in the universe, I would think that what a tremendous waste of space, right? Unless we are designed to be the only intelligent life in the universe and colonize the rest of the known universe over time. Who knows? It's a great mystery.
Even in the spots where we can't see anything. No, those aren't stars, those are galaxies. Each galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars. So let's talk about...
This is the argument that aliens must be real.
More than 200 sextillion, or 200 billion trillion stars. Okay, that's kind of a hard number to fathom. So what does that actually mean? It means there are more stars, and let me caveat this, in the observable universe. Here's a difference. There are more stars in the observable universe than there are grains of sand in all the beaches, in all the world.
Again, stolen talking points.
And that's just the observable
Stolen
universe.
talking points.
Wait a minute.
Nothing original.
The universe is bigger than that? Absolutely. In fact, it's more than 10 times bigger than that. Astrophysicists assess. That little circle is basically estimating the visible horizon.
God, we're only 22 minutes into this snooze fest.
So 40 billion light.
Jesus, God help me.
Well, light travels a photon.
Gemma Jackson's dude. I'm sorry, Gemma. This is some slop I'm sharing today. This is the bottom of the barrel slop.
Imagine how far it can go in a year. Now imagine how far it can go in 13.5 billion years.
That I may agree with you on. Somebody here, Ronald Portillo with Kind and Generous 5 and 1 for the goal. Compared to David Wackadoo Wilcock, DSP is harmless. Well, DSP never accused me of being a criminal with absolutely no evidence. He never accused me of being a Satan-worshipping child predator or anything like that. So maybe I would have to agree with you. But thank you. 1 for the goal. And we are at 20 of 50 towards the goal. Oh, a hard slog tonight towards that goal.
This is 40 billion light years across. And scientists estimate that's only 10% of the actual universe because the universe is so big. And
Notice you still hear all those fork noises?
Light from anything beyond that.
People are busy eating their dinner while this guy bores them.
That's our visible horizon, folks.
It's so boring.
So let's do a little math here. That is how big our observable universe is. Again, not the size of the true universe, the observable universe. Now, that's huge. Now,
it's like he watched too many Michio Kaku or Neil deGrasse Tyson appearances on documentaries and just took notes. You know, the grains on the sands of the beach. Those are all talking points from Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse Tyson that he saw on television, in my opinion.
As above, so below. How many of you took chemistry in high school? That'd be great. Boy, it was boring, wasn't it? Remember Avogadro's number? That's right. Oh my God, yeah.
Gemma, taking one for the team. Gemma Jackson says, I'm here anyway, my friends.
Times 10 to the negative 23rd. What does that mean? That's roughly the
I have
same
no
order of
evidence for my
magnitude in
many
size.
claims, so let me extol on the
Inside every
majesty of the
human being,
universe.
you look at a hydrogen
Yeah, he doesn't have
atom,
evidence to show,
right?
so he's
One
just gonna
proton, one neutron, and one
he's just gonna
electron.
dazzle them with
Compared to the
bullshit,
human body,
Steve Long, because he has
that's
no
roughly the
facts,
same
he has
order
no
of magnitude.
evidence.
That atom
This
is to us
government
as
UFO
we are
expert, what a
to the
loser.
universe. Now think about that. In every single human being, there's a hidden universe. And as human beings, we're limited.
Well, it could be right. Never a straight answer after all, last minute lazy.
Or 2 orders of degree of magnitude, up or down. Otherwise,
Tyson is also a
the universe
fraud.
is simply too big.
Well, he's certainly got a problem with women. I don't know about the rest of them.
Interact with it. So that's important because that means most of the universe, something like 99.9.
See, SK says, I wish I heard noises of forks going into Lue. Yeah.
So that means most of reality is beyond our ability to perceive. It's either too big or too small, or lies beyond our ability.
Somebody's trying to sell us bots over there on Twitch. So thank you. We don't do bots. He's taking his talking points from Carl Sagan. That's another possibility. You were right, Gooby Boxton.
And then I joined the Army. After that, I became a federal agent.
Here's where it gets interesting, Steve Long.
I've always considered myself very logical. I was never a Star Wars kid. I tell people I was more of like a G.I. Joe kind of kid.
Yeah, he was more like a gay kid that got beat up and his head put in the toilet and locked in a locker or a dumpster. That's the kind of kid I think he was.
Wasn't prone to flights of fancy. I've always been a disciple of the scientific method.
Wasn't prone to flights of fancy. This is a guy who claims that in his book that he remote viewed a terrorist and made the terrorists see angels shaking his bed, but he's not prone to flights of fancy. He's telling people he has superpowers, but he's a scientist.
I still am. And when I was a special agent, I was just a facts man kind of guy. Wasn't interested in suppositions and innuendos or what people thought. I wanted to know what the facts say and what does the data say. What does the data suggest?
Well, the data about you suggests that you lied to the New York Times, that you never ran a Pentagon UFO program, and you've been grifting every UFO dollar that you could jam in your greedy little pockets since then, for years now. That's what the data suggests about you, Lou.
And this is the same approach we took in ATIP. What is ATIP? We can talk a little bit more about it.
Here's where it gets interesting.
A program that was established by Congress.
A program called ATIP was never established by Congress. Here's where he's straight lying to his audience for money.
I've been a disciple of the scientific method. I still am. And when I was a special agent, I was just a facts man kind of guy. Wasn't interested in suppositions and innuendos or what people thought. I wanted to know what the facts say and what does the data say.
And meanwhile, he spent 10 minutes telling us about space-time and cosmology, but he's not interested in supposition, just the facts. We're 25 minutes in. He has no facts so far, but now he's finally going to get to facts, and he tells his audience lies. He gives them fake facts. He said that ATIP was established by Congress. Find me the paperwork. No, it wasn't. A separate program that you weren't a part of called OSAP was established by Congress.
What does the data suggest? And this is the same approach we took in ATIP. What is ATIP? We can talk a little bit more about it, but it was a program that was established by Congress.
Lie.
Pushed down to the intelligence community, the Department of Defense.
Lie.
In order to investigate, that's right, UFOs.
Yeah, and what did they do with that $22 million in that program you weren't a part of? They studied UFOs, but they also studied werewolves, poltergeists, skinwalkers at Skinwalker Ranch, and my favorite, dino beavers, prehistoric dinosaur beavers, and portals, and ghosts and goblins, and they wasted $22 million on nonsense. But here we are.
Your tax dollars gave us the ability to investigate UFOs in and off.
Nobody ever gave Lue Elizondo any tax dollars to investigate UFOs. He did it on his own as a hobby while he worked in the Pentagon on things completely unrelated and removed from anything UFO. In other words, he worked at the Pentagon but nobody assigned him to investigate any UFO stuff. Nobody made him the director of any program. Nobody gave him any budget because he's a liar, a fraud, and a grifter.
Authorized manner. This wasn't a hobby project.
He just said this wasn't a hobby project. And I'm sure he's responding to people like me and Stephen Greenstreet and a few others who have repeatedly said this man was never the director of any UFO program. It was his hobby. But here he is saying it wasn't a hobby project.
Congress pushed down to the intelligence community, the Department of Defense, in order to investigate, that's right, UFOs.
And that reminds me, 1 second. I'm getting messaged by some of the people. Okay, let's continue. And just put on the record, anybody who I've sent the Google Drive link to this audio, you're free to tweet it. I'm not going to reveal my source. So if you want to say that it's a Truth Seekers exclusive and it came from a viewer of Truth Seekers, you could do that. But I will not, under any circumstances, reveal the name or any information on the person who leaked the audio to me. Thank you.
Your tax
But you're free to clip away. Clip it all you want.
dollars gave us the ability to investigate UFOs in an authorized manner. This wasn't a hobby project. We spent $22 million of your money doing this.
No, they spent $22 million on a program that you have repeatedly said you were never involved in. See, here's where I have a problem. This is, in my opinion, this is consumer fraud. He's taking money to give a presentation and he's just straight lying to people. Lue Elizondo has repeatedly said he was never a part of that $22 million program. But here he is claiming that he was, and that it wasn't a hobby when it was.
That's right. And what did the results yield? Well, at the unclassified level, 3 videos I know are famous. Everybody knows what these videos are. By the way, there's a whole lot more and a hell of a lot better than these.
Yeah, and the original 3 videos that he got out of the Pentagon were never meant for public consumption. But him and his buddies borrowed them from the Pentagon and then made careers out of them for years. TV show deals, book deals. And by the way, all 3 of those videos show nothing extraordinary, nothing alien. And he knew they were nothing extraordinary and nothing alien because they were even labeled on the release form as balloons, drones, and UAV, or unmanned aerial vehicles. He knew they had nothing to do with the aliens, but he pushed the idea that they may be aliens to get book deals, TV show deals, documentary deals, and live speaking engagements like this. In other words, he lied to everybody for profit, like a scumbag would do.
But these are unclassified, so we can talk about them. So this is fact. These are 3 of some of the videos that your tax dollars help pay to try to analyze and figure out what is going on. And to this day, we still have them as unresolved. So they're taken by FLIR camera footage by an F-18 Super Hornet, several different aircraft at different times have encountered these strange things in the sky that can outperform, frankly, anything we have in our inventory. So think about that for a minute.
Okay, we will think about that for a minute, because this has been a repeated talking point of Lue Elizondo and these other disclosure boner loser morons. I've heard so many people say that these things outperform anything in our inventory. What are you basing that statement on? He's making a statement of fact without facts and without evidence to support those facts, which means he's just making up fake facts. Oh, these things outperform anything in our inventory. Show me the censored data that proves they outperform anything in our military. He can't, and he won't, because this is just another unproven, trust me, bro, grifter talking point. Everybody says that they outperform anything that we have. They're well beyond our technological capability. Great, show me the proof of that. But they can't and they won't, because this is just a trust me bro talking point. Everybody in UFO land promoting this shit says it. Nobody ever proves it. Full stop.
This was the contract for ATIP/OSAP that you paid for. And if anybody has any questions whatsoever about the focus of this program, let me draw your attention here. Investigate legitimacy of currently observed phenomena. Not technology, not aircraft, phenomena. And that's in the contract. So it's very clear what this is about. And if you look a little further, you see things like human effects, human interface, technology integration, power generation, armament, right? This is very DoD, very national security centric, very heavy on national security, because it was a national security issue. We were encountering things over controlled US airspace that were maneuvering in ways that to this day we still can't replicate.
Another statement of fact without any evidence to support those facts. These things are maneuvering in ways that we cannot replicate. How many tests have you done to try to replicate their movements in specific cases? None. Do you have any sensor data or any, proof that we can't replicate the way these things are moving? We're talking about an idiot moron who thought that a chandelier was an alien mothership. So sorry, not sorry if I don't believe him when he says things like these things move in ways we can't replicate, or these things moves in ways that is well beyond our own technological capability. We can't do what they do. Show me the proof. But he never does. He's just been saying this stuff with the trust me, bro, head shake. Trust me, bro. These things move in ways we can't replicate. Show me the data that supports that false fact. He can't, and he won't.
And by the way, there wasn't anything we could do about it. So yes, there was a national security imperative that was recognized by both members of Congress and senior leaders in the Department of Defense, the CIA, and the intelligence community that mandated we better figure out what's going on here. Imagine if Russia or China had this kind of technology, right?
Well, the adversary argument.
Well, there were several observables. In intelligence, the way we do business is we try to find commonalities and then we try to find anomalies. So you look at
Jesus, this is bad. Yes, Wreaking Havoc 215, longtime show supporter with one for the goal, says, what are your thoughts on the idea that people like Lue could be put in place to spread misinformation? Well, there's a reason that he's getting away with, in my opinion, getting away with consumer fraud here. And yes, it's well established that the United States government has sent operatives into the UFO community to spread false and fake information. In other words, misinformation or disinformation. So we have an historical lens that we can view this situation from and say, well, we know they've done that before. So could they be doing that now? I think very, very likely, right? Last Minute Lacey says, Corey Good was going around suing everyone. We should sue the bastards for lying to us. Sorry, I'm getting a bit mad. Oh my. That's called righteous indignation and it is perfectly acceptable here. Lou Lizolato is here and says, just got here. Let me guess. More slander from Steven. Yeah, send your lawyer my way. And CL says, I knew it. Steve is a Fed. And Kevin Alt says, paid disinformation. A lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe
the way
that.
Things normally work. And then what you do is you separate those things that you see that are not operating typical of other technologies that you have in your inventory. So in this case, it's instantaneous acceleration.
He's never shown any proof of instantaneous. These are his 5 observables. And isn't it interesting that he keeps pumping these 5 observables as if they're verifiable facts that he's seen or anyone has seen UFOs that exhibit these 5 observables, but he's never proven one of these observables, let alone all 5 of them. And now he adds a 6th one here.
Hypersonic velocity. What is hypersonic velocity? Speeds in excess of Mach 5. What's Mach? Mach is the speed of sound, roughly 768 miles an hour at sea level, plus or minus. So 5 times the speed of sound.
So he's never shown anything that proves that a UFO had instantaneous acceleration. And he's never proved And he's never shown anything that proved that he has data on a UFO that exhibits hypersonic velocity. Full stop. Yeah, I mean, you could talk about this stuff philosophically, but he's presenting it as like these UFOs do these things, and we know that for a fact. Then show us the evidence to support your so-called facts. These are fake facts.
You have here, I hate to use the word anti-gravity, it's a bad word in science, but we don't know how to explain it. Things that can fly without wings and without any obvious signs of propulsion.
There's many things within our technological capability that can appear to fly without wings and fly without any visible means of propulsion. That does not mean they're aliens, you moron, you idiot. And listening to this, I'm reminded of that saying, don't argue with an idiot, he'll beat you with experience,
Observability, think of stealth, but in this case, even with the human eye, and transmedium travel, and lastly, biological effects, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, so the transmedium thing has been blown out of the water because that was proof that it must be aliens because it can go under the ocean and also fly in the sky. The Chinese just recently showed a drone that has transmedium capabilities. It can go underwater. It can fly in the sky. That's transmedium. That doesn't mean aliens. And when he pushes these 5 observables, he's saying that when you see these observables in a UFO, that's proof they're aliens. At least that's the way that many people translate what he's saying that I've spoken to, and I believe that that's what he's trying to get at. If you see an object with instantaneous acceleration, we don't have craft that could do that. And by the way, go look up the fastest drone on Earth on YouTube. Looks like instantaneous acceleration to me. Supersonic velocities. We don't have anything that can do that. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And the Russians do too, you dummy. So all these things are like prover maneuvers. There's no visible means of propulsion. Well, go look at some of the drones coming out that have no visible means of propulsion. It's not proof of aliens, and neither is transmedium capability. And he mentions another one, like not viewable by the human eye or, stealth capability. But he's never proven that any of these so-called UFOs exhibit any of these characteristics. But this is his prover maneuvers. So I guess he's never proved that anything was alien then, because he can't prove any of these 5 observables are real in any scientific way.
Nobody ever discussed the 6th observable, which was biological effects, until recently. It was a bit of a big pill to swallow for a lot of people. Now,
so they purposefully withheld it.
But we really didn't talk about it because it made people kind of uncomfortable, especially senior leadership in our government. So we focused primarily on the 5 observables, and only recently have we been talking more about the 6 observables a little bit more openly to the public so they could kind of understand what we were trying to achieve. So why are the observables important for national security, right? It's not just a curiosity. Look, that's interesting. Something flying in kind of a weird way. No, there's reasons for it. Okay. Instantaneous acceleration. Now, what do I mean by instantaneous acceleration?
Instantaneous bullshit.
That is the ability in a sudden change of velocity, being able to go from point A to point B and change your velocity very quickly. And the way we experience these forces as a human being or as an aircraft is through something we call G-forces. A G-force is if you will, it's the way we experience gravity. I'm standing here right now, like all of you, kind of sit down.
And just to be clear, he's never shown proof of this. He's never shown a video of a craft that exhibits instantaneous acceleration. He's never shown scientific proof or sensor data of a craft that exhibits instantaneous acceleration. So this is all speculation, all of it.
Now, to put that in comparison, the average human being wearing a G-suit can withstand about 9 G-forces for a short period of time before you start to suffer biological consequences, meaning you have blackouts, redouts, and even death, right? So let's compare that to some of our most sophisticated technology we have in our inventory. Let's look at the F-16. It's an older aircraft, General Dynamics, but still one of our most highly maneuverable aircraft that we have in our inventory. Very maneuverable. That can pull at the unclassified level about 17 to 18 Gs before you start experiencing structural failure, meaning you have wings begin to snap off, and disintegration of
Well,
the
that
Earth.
wouldn't be good.
What we are seeing with these UAP is not 20.
And here he's going to trust me, bro. He's about to just trust me, bro, and say, we see things doing thousands and thousands of miles an hour, which is well beyond our own capability. But yet he's never going to provide the proof that we see things that are going that fast.
20 Gs, 19 Gs, in excess of 1,000, 2,000 G forces. Well beyond anything biologically to withstand, and certainly beyond our material science capability.
Yeah. Again, more trust me, bro bullshit. Show me proof that we have seen craft that are exhibiting G forces in excess of 1,000 Gs. Again, it's just fantasy. He has no scientific evidence. He has no data to support these statements. And so the morons who pay him to listen to this drivel, maybe they don't look into the fact that he never provides proof. He just makes statements of facts without any evidence to support those facts. And this is a common problem with all these UFO grifters. They make these statements as if they're factual. And he just did. We see these craft that are exhibiting G forces in excess of 1,000 Gs. Okay, show us the evidence of that. But he won't. And he can't, because this all came from the land of make-believe.
To be able to reproduce. So that's a big deal. And if you understand that, you can reproduce that. You have an advantage over your enemy for things like thrust vectoring and G-force protection. Obviously, on the battlefield, that's a heck of an advantage. So
it would be if it was reality, but it's not, so who cares?
Tax dollars were being used to try to figure out who has this technology and how can we do it ourselves. Hypersonic velocity, I just described that, right? Mach 5.
You're right, troll.
We have technology today that
all the grifters love other grifters. You know, they can respect the grift.
You hear about hypersonic missiles.
The top of the ufology food chain are all liars.
The Lockheed Martin
Yeah.
12A SR-71 Blackbird. That is a really cool aircraft. If you've ever seen it before, it's really
It's my favorite airplane, SR-71 Blackbird.
Movie, the Maverick. They had this kind of new
Yeah, the audience just wants dessert. They're realizing they've been had.
After the old SR-71. That plane can do Mach 5. It can do about roughly 3,200 miles an hour.
Andrew saying he's not a CIA mole, he's just a stupid grifter after money. I agree with you, Andrew. I don't think he's smart enough to work for the CIA.
We're not seeing that with these things. These things are not doing 3,200.
The land of make-believe on Lollipop
miles an
Lane.
hour and faster. And they can do immediate right-angle turns and 180-degree turns.
Why can't he show us data to support them doing thousands of miles an hour? Why can't he show us data to support them doing right-angle turns? And by the way, many advanced drones can do right-angle turns. In fact, I have an advanced drone that can do right-angle turns and maybe appear to have instantaneous acceleration. It doesn't mean it's an alien spaceship, Lou, you lying moron.
How's that possible? Low observability. Do we have low observable aircraft? Yeah, there's one right there. B-2 bomber, the Valkyrie, you name it, right? F-117, Wobbly Goblin, Tacit Blue, Half Blue, all these programs that we developed in order to make aircraft harder to detect using radar, but you can still see them pretty easily with the naked eye, right? I mean, you can see that thing. It's not very well hidden. What we are seeing are aircraft that are hard to detect not only on radar, but even with the human eye. Pilots will say, you know, Lou, I don't know how to describe it. There was something up there, I could see it, but it didn't have wings or ailerons or control surfaces. I don't know how else to describe what I saw, but it was there. I could see it with my own eyes, but not very well. So low observability is very, very important, and you can see why, right? Survivability, anonymity, if you wanted to go into a country, you didn't want to be detected. So these technologies are important. Transmedium travel, the ability to operate in multiple, what we call domains. Think about it as environments.
Transmedium.
Right? Think about the ability
that was a buzzword for so long.
These
things, they're transmedium. But nobody can show me a transmedium craft. Isn't that funny?
That would give you a heck of an advantage, wouldn't it?
They can't show me data to support transmedium vehicles. But I could show you video of the transmedium drones from both China and the United States.
Transmedium vehicles, you betcha. Give you case in point, a seaplane. A seaplane can fly and can float. But let's face it, a seaplane is neither a really good airplane.
You're right, Algaray. I'll work on that. I will work on that.
Compromise. By nature, anything we want to operate in more than one environment, you have to do design compromises and performance compromises to be able to achieve that. That's why when you look at the space shuttle, sure, it can go in outer space, and if you
Yeah,
glide
X-15,
down,
Crunt.
it's not a very good plane. It kind of comes down like
His wife
this.
must
You
be
don't want to
embarrassed.
landing it, right?
No,
So
she's loving the grift. She wants him to grift more. She likes money.
From a national security perspective, because it will give you an advantage on the battlefield. Imagine if you had a plane that could shoot out like a torpedo.
They have that, you dumbass. For being a military man, he doesn't know anything about military capability. Gino Primo with a kind and generous 5 and 1 for the goal says, came from the DSP coverage, stayed for the entertaining and informative content. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you, Gina Primo. Nice to see you here, and thank you for helping us to praise the cash. That's 1 for the goal. I'll check in with the goal. Oh, we're at 22 of 50. It's the slop. I'm going to blame the slop. That's what I'm going to blame. It's the Lue Elizondo. Come on, man. I can't praise the cash off of this slop. This is some low bottom of the barrel, scraping the bottom out slop.
Fly like a plane. So anybody who had that technology, that's pretty important. It's something we would want to know how to do.
Yes, she is on.
And of course, the bad word
on TV one.
Said anti-gravity. For any scientists out there,
she wants to hide in the house while he's grifting.
That's what we use. What does that mean? That's really just a vernacular to describe the ability to defy the natural
transmitting of its closed size target
without the associated technologies involved. Meaning, the reason why
he said a plane that can shoot out like a torpedo. That's what he said, TJ Felony. But thank you.
Drag and weight, and if you understand those, you can generate lift.
Oh man!
And that's a lot of it actually.
Oh man, Flint Westwood, thank you for putting a smile on my face with a kind and generous 5 and another towards the goal. Says this guy makes cool technology sound as interesting as watching wet paint. Yeah, I agree. And detective with 1 for the goal at least says praise the slop. Yeah, we're giving the high quality stuff, right? The problem with super fast vehicles is dealing with the heat. After a certain point, just the air pressure of the atmosphere acts like sandpaper. Yeah, that's why I say that David Wilcock is an idiot, because he's running around saying, we're going to build this super fast plane and it's going to do more than Mach 4. Well, have you solved the heat problem, David Wilcock? Because, I don't know, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, none of those worldwide, decades-long experts in aviation have solved that heat problem. But David Wilcock claims he has. Archduke Instinct with 1 for the goal and a big one. $20 super chat says, praise the slop. God bless the slop. Well, we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Longtime show supporter Archduke Instinct throwing in some cash for the goal. We'll get through the slop. Let's continue in our slop fest, shall we?
The plane has been flew in.
I'm drifting. I got to try to pay attention to what this clown is saying. So
that's what we're seeing with UAP. These things have no wings, no control surfaces, no ailerons, no elevators, no rudders, no cockpit. Nothing that we would normally attribute to something being able to fly, and no obvious signs of propulsion.
Again, he's stating things as facts, but he can't show us scientific proof of a flying craft that exhibits what he's saying they exhibit. It's just, trust me, bro.
Propulsion, no heat signature, no jet plume, no contrail, not even an acoustic signature. At traveling beyond the speed of sound, there are things like sonic booms. There are acoustic signatures that we can...
Show us a flying craft that's flying faster than the speed of sound but doesn't exhibit a sonic boom. I'll wait. He hasn't yet, but he keeps using that as a talking point too.
We can track, and yet that's not the case with UAP. How is that possible? Okay, so what did your money was spent on? Well, there were 37 academic studies. I'm going to go through these a little slowly each page so you can see for yourself. This is not fake. $22 million was used to do these actual real studies. So think about this, right? This little laser here. Materials, advanced aerospace platforms, right? Space access, where we've been and where we could go. Metallic, spintronics. Let's go a little more here.
Yeah, and for those, just for the benefit of those that don't know, the $22 million she's talking about was given to Bob Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace fame by Senator Harry Reid and a couple of other senators, as it was a sweetheart deal, like a thank you for contributing to his campaign throughout the years so many times. And Bob Bigelow and the people that were given that money wasted it studying Skinwalker Ranch and things like poltergeists, dino beavers, werewolves following people home from Skinwalker Ranch, shape-shifting skinwalkers, portals, and UFOs. And Stephen Greenstreet from the New York Post famously reported that some of the people that worked there knew that to keep their paycheck, they had to tell Bob Bigelow that they were seeing paranormal stuff. So they used to just get drunk and fax him paranormal event reports that were just totally fictionalized. That is the root of all of this. A bunch of wackadoos jerking each other off, pretending that they're seeing paranormal stuff to keep a paycheck flowing.
Nuclear propulsion, advanced space propulsion based on vacuum and space-time metric. What does that mean?
That means that a less than credible physicist was given money to write a paper. Eric Davis, whose research was called crackpot research. That's where he's getting all this from. Eric Davis's research was called crackpot research and fake science by, I believe it was the Air Force.
Engineering space-time itself.
After they read his hokey reports.
Compressing space-time, Alcubierre drive, right? Traversable wormholes, stargates, and negative energy. Anti-gravity for aerospace applications. These are real studies. You can read them today. They're now on the open internet. Anybody can read them.
Yes, and they're mocked by any real physicist or scientist that reads them. His arguments are so weak because he's only given the audience half the story. When he says the $22 million went to study all of these things, well, somebody wrote a theoretical physics paper about wormholes, stargates, compression of space-time. It doesn't mean anything. It means that somebody took a paycheck and wrote some shit.
Okay. Now this is an interesting one. An introduction to the statistical Drake equation. Anybody know what the Drake equation is? Great. What is it, sir?
Oh, more philosophy. The Drake equation.
That's right. It is the statistical likelihood of intelligent life being in our cosmos. It's called the Drake equation. Why was the U.S. government spending money studying that? Right?
Because they wasted money on a lot of stupid shit.
China, folks. Negative mass propulsion, right? Look at some of these.
Everything that he's talking about here is totally theoretical.
Quantum tomography.
Theoretical.
So it was 2015 in ATIP that the scientists, some of the world's premier scientists, by the way, in theoretical physics and other sciences.
They were not the world's most preeminent physicists. They were wackadoos, Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis. And Hal Puthoff was so dumb that he got fooled by Uri Geller with children's magic tricks into believing that Uri Geller had super psychic powers. And he declared Uri Geller's psychic powers genuine and real. And Uri Geller admitted later that he basically used children's magic tricks to fool this so-called scientist. He was also a high-ranking Scientologist, Hal Puthoff, who claimed that he got superpowers from studying Scientology. These are not the world's most preeminent physicists. They're his butt buddies. Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis are butt buddies of Lue Elizondo. And there's the whole bromance going on. I don't know. And let's be clear. I do not know if Lue Elizondo gets butt banged by Hal Puthoff. I do not know if Lue Elizondo butt bangs either Hal Puthoff or Eric Davis, but the term butt buddies just applies because they're grifters, they're greasy grifters, and they all use each other in circular reporting, use each other for sources. Here he is citing his butt buddy wackadoo scientists that, by the way, no real scientist respects either Hal Puthoff or Eric Davis, to my knowledge. They're basically wackadoos who believe in like poltergeists following them home from Skinwalker Ranch and all of these other crazy things.
I had the proverbial aha moment. I remember it as if it was yesterday. I'm in the skiff, I'm doing some work, and one of my colleagues comes in.
And I think SCIF is secret compartmentalized information, something. It's where they go to discuss classified things. He's always bringing up SCIFs, right? Because he's a secret agent and he knows a lot of secrets.
With the proverbial hair on fire, Lou, we need to see you now. I'm like, look, I'm a little busy. I got some stuff here. I'm working for the National Security Council. Nope, you need to drop it right now. Okay, what's going on? Went into a SCIF, and for about 3 hours, they started writing down an equation, mathematical equation. And at the end of that, drew a line. He said, boom, here it is. And it was number 1. I said,
oh,
I don't know what that means.
Spooky.
I got up to Calc 3 and I almost failed twice. But I didn't know what it meant. And basically, the scientists looked at me and they said, we have now realized that every one of those 5 observables that we've been trying to desperately figure out the different exotic technologies responsible for each one of those.
And again, this is just a story. And given the number of times that this guy gets caught lying, I don't believe any of his stories without paperwork that this actually happened. But this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves.
Is really a result of one technology, not different ones. And in fact, if you can master this one technology, all these other observables now become possible. So that was a huge kind of this aha moment for us.
Well, what was the one technology?
We're like, oh my gosh, after all this time, we realize it's not all these other technologies you need. You just need to understand physics from this one perspective. So we'll talk about that.
Oh, Bob Lazar, gravity generation.
In order to understand the aha moment, you first have to understand what gravity is. And I took physics. I'm not a physicist, but I'm sure there's maybe some physicists in here. We all look at gravity and we think of Newtonian physics and the apple falling from the tree and saying that's gravity. That's not gravity. It's actually an effect of gravity. Gravity, as we now know through the principles of Sir Albert Einstein, it is basically the warping of space-time. It is the space-time being perturbed by a
Archduke Instinct.
object.
Praise the slop. God bless the slop. Yes.
And
Thank you for kindness.
Time. Now, anybody who thinks that this is theoretical, you're wrong. Anybody have a GPS in their car? You know how that works?
Oh, now we're going to hear about the clocks and the satellites.
And the satellites have an atomic cesium clock on board the spacecraft.
It's like,
and that atomic cesium clock.
It's like your science teacher was sick, so this is the like substitute teacher, and he doesn't really have any lesson plan. He's just going to ramble about science stuff that he heard and repeat it for 2 hours. It's really this is some shit, and people paid good money for this.
Exactly, precisely the same type of atomic cesium clock at the ground station. But when we first started working with GPS, we noticed something weird. There was this glitch in the system. For some reason, the atomic cesium clocks with the exact same atomic half-life decay, those clocks were running at a different rate, slightly different than the ground station atomic cesium clock.
Yeah, and this is because time moves differently depending on the speed at which you are accelerating.
And
it's a known physics principle.
Understand why? What was going on?
We did understand why. It's a known physics principle, you moron.
Well, it turns out that the mass of Earth itself, the closer you are to Earth, the more space-time is warped. And you can actually see it on these atomic cesium clocks, meaning the clocks run at different rates. And unless we go, it's called atomic drift, unless we calculate and calibrate.
And I believe he's totally wrong here from a physics perspective, but I'm no physicist. The clocks move differently in satellites than they do on Earth. Same thing if you go up in the space shuttle. The clocks will move slightly differently because of the speed at which they are orbiting Earth. It doesn't have anything to do with mass.
For atomic drift.
In my opinion. I could be wrong. Somebody's free to correct me. We need alien scientists to clarify this.
Reset that clock at the ground station, you're going to wind up in my home state, in Wyoming if you try to go to New York. That's how off it can be. So it's very, very important that we understand these principles. So this is fact. And so it's caused, this warping of space-time is caused by the mass of Earth. In fact, if you were standing by the sun, the warping of space-time is even more. And if you were standing by even a more massive object, let's say a black hole, you get to the point where space-time is so warped that it actually begins to fold in on itself. So this was a moment where we said, okay, so you're telling me space-time can be warped by a lot of mass. Yes, it can be. And in fact, here's a little picture of two people standing on Earth, being pulled towards the center of Earth equally at 9.8 meters per second squared.
Oh, I'd love to see these illustrations. Now, they're probably just as boring as his speech.
The person on the left was a little bit more clever than the average bear and had a way to insulate themselves from the effects of Earth's gravity. Well, for one, not only would you not need wings and an engine to fly because gravity doesn't affect you anymore.
Yeah, he's basically has stolen Bob Lazar's explanation of how flying saucers work here. They generate gravity. And if you can generate gravity, as Bob Lazar has said, well, that enables faster than light travel. That enables all of these incredible technologies. You can warp light around the craft so that nobody can see the craft. This is Bob Lazar bullshit. And again, all theoretical.
But actually the way you experience time inside this bubble you have created for yourself is fundamentally different than the way we would experience space-time outside the bubble.
Yeah, if you can actually generate gravity. But so far, nobody's been able to prove that any machine can be built that is capable of generating gravity.
Now,
so it's all theory.
What else does that do? Well, it may even explain the morphology, the shapes of UAP.
Oh yeah, he's cracked the code with his theory.
By the way, this is not world according to Lue Elizondo. These are some of our best physicists in the government.
No, this is Bob Lazar bullshit. He's not even a physicist. So let's
talk about how is it that this whole thing about mass and warping space-time has anything to do with UFO shapes and sizes? Well, let's get to that. These are some of the common shapes people often describe, right? Discs, lenticular craft, cigar or rod-shaped vehicles, triangular vehicles, and in very rare occasions, a very substantially large boomerang-shaped craft.
And isn't it interesting that people stopped seeing flying saucers about the time they stopped making hubcaps that suspiciously look a lot like flying saucers and suddenly started seeing other shaped craft? I always kind of, that really makes me wonder, right? And we want to thank Vamp Sith for a kind of generous 5 towards the goal. First time donating to anyone online. Just wanted to say drone tech has been around since at least World War II. And the Axis did some wild stuff. Fritz X for 1. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the so-called Wonder Weapons, right? And yeah, we even had, did you know, Vamp Sith, we even had drone missiles that were guided by chickens. I'm not kidding. Look it up. They'd put a chicken or a bird inside this drone, and he had to peck where he wanted the missile to go or something like that, as best I recall. It's a really weird story. They experimented with a lot of drones and remote control airplanes for bombers and a lot of things, Vamp Sith. Very good point. And thank you. It's nice to bust your cherry there. I hope you will not be shy with donating to other good content creators. It really does help. We, says Steve Long, the U.S. had drones in the 1920s and 30s. Yeah, could be. Anti-time tachyons and shit, Captain Picard, says Darren Kieran. It was a pigeon. Yes, maybe it wasn't a chicken. We also had radio-operated boats and subs in the 1890s. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Well, let's continue the slop fest. Where are we at with the goal? We're at 26 of 50. Praise the cash, friends. We're more than halfway to the goal. We're going to try to keep going through this slop fest. Jesus Christ, we got another hour and 10 minutes to go. I don't know if I'm going to make it. We might just call it a day, call it a night.
So here is...
This truly is the most boring talk on UFOs that I've ever heard. Probably because he's basically just taken talking points that a lot of other grifters, UFO grifters, have used. All this theory and theoretical stuff and philosophy and like all the stars in the sky and the Carl Sagan talking points. It's all stuff that I've heard 100 times before. For being a UFO expert from the government, he has no originality. If this guy had an original thought, it seems like it would die of loneliness to me.
Here's a little drawing. Forgive me, I'm not an artist. But there's a person on the left, let's say they're average of 6 feet tall, which I am certainly not, but let's say the average person is 6 feet tall.
He's definitely not 6 feet tall. He's a dwarf.
We know
He's 4'2", this
one
guy.
is with a lot of matter or mass.
I got a 12-year-old bigger than him.
But it doesn't make sense that you would bring something the mass of Earth in order
to underappreciated by UFOs. Yeah, human achievement and ingenuity is constantly underappreciated by the UFO topic. Exactly.
Time is with what? With energy. Exactly. We know that.
Even has content meaning, Lue has content leaving.
People don't realize how important that equation is. It means that energy and mass.
I think UFOs run off turbo and tabulators. I don't even know what that is. Is that a real thing?
Mass and energy. Think of, well, you're all drinking some glasses of water. Think of ice as being
most rudimentary YouTube tier experience with astrophysics debunks this immediately. Yeah.
They're both made of water. They're both water in essence.
I'm no physicist, so let me make them up.
That's why when you take matter and you annihilate,
Lue talks like Kamala Harris. Yeah, a bunch of nothing.
You begin to start getting subatomic particles.
Lue is an artist, scam artist, as Stormcrow.
And so both mass and energy
them's fighting
can
words.
warp space-time. The problem is that you need a lot of energy to do it. And I need a lot of energy. And we can talk about that in a minute as well.
Yeah.
So let's say you wanted to create a bubble around you.
And what he's talking about theoretically doing would take the energy of multiple suns. People have calculated it, which means theoretically it's possible, but where are you getting the energy of multiple suns to do this advanced propulsion? And which means it's likely impossible.
A bubble around me that's going to warp space.
Unless we suddenly crack Dyson spheres.
By gravity. The way I experience space-time is going to be fundamentally different than the way you all do it. Think of a diving bell, and I'm going to ask you all a question.
Good question.
Good question. So those of you
this is a great question from the live audience from Zero with 5 and 1 for the goal. Says, have you ever tried getting in touch with a congressman to testify against these losers that try their shuffle and jive? Yes, and they were very uninterested. So I kind of gave up. It's like they want to hear from the grifters. They don't want to hear. I tried to educate several Congress people and representatives about the history of grifting, scamming, and lying that some of these people that they're calling to testify to Congress or dealing with to provide them witnesses. You know, for example, Corbell is somehow providing witnesses to Congress. He is literally one of the biggest UFO scammers that keeps getting caught selling fake UFOs on Earth. And somehow he's providing, great. You want to get to the truth of this thing, you don't go to a career-long scammer who keeps getting caught selling fake UFO stories for money. You don't go to that guy. But thank you, Zero. Very good question. And ML with 1. Thanks for being hilarious, Steve. Well, I'm trying, ML. This is some slop tonight. I'm sorry. I thought it'd be a little more exciting. But then I knew it wasn't going to be that exciting because I had to listen to this shit already. This is my 3rd time listening to this clown. And each time it feels worse than the first. It's getting progressively worse. The more you listen to this guy, the more you want to just I don't know. I got the image of if I killed myself right now, I don't have to listen to the rest of this.
in geometry, probably
that's bad.
Answer this pretty quickly.
What a great public speaker.
I wanted to create a bubble, and I wanted to create a vehicle to fit inside that bubble. Think of a diving bell, right? I want to be protected equally on all sides when I'm in this bubble. I want to have equal distance. I don't want to have any part of my vehicle or myself outside the bubble when part of me is inside the bubble, because all sorts of bad things happen. We can get into that if you want, but there's instant disintegration along that terminus there, and bad things happen.
I love hearing all these advanced physics from a guy who has a high school child's level of understanding of actual physics, let alone advanced physics. Remember, this guy studied biology, not physics. So I don't get him talking this much about physics. It's like, again, the problem here is that he has no material. And apparently, there was more than the fake chandelier UFO in his original presentation that he does, or so I've heard. I can't verify that. In other words, this presentation is coming after he was caught with fake UFO photos in a previous presentation he did. And yeah, actually, just to put it on the record, I should share. I should share that. I think I have that. No, of course I don't. Oh wait, maybe I do. Yeah, just to put it on the record. So, what I think is happening here is that he had more than that one fake photo in his previous presentations. And when he got caught with the fake chandelier photo, lying and said that he lies in this clip I'm about to share with you, and he says that he talked to the pilots that saw this mothership, and no pilot saw it because it was never a real object in the sky. It's something called Pepper's ghost. So somebody was in their apartment and the chandelier was reflecting off of the glass, and they took a picture out the window and got this image of the chandelier apparently, or looking like it was flying in the sky. It wasn't. It wasn't a real object in the sky. So I think that he had to pack this presentation with all this philosophical banter and philosophical ramblings and all this rampant speculation and so-called physics talk, because he had to take the fake shit out of his presentations for fear of getting caught with more fake UFO stuff that he's taking money to show people when it's fake. And just to put it on the record, this is his presentation where he got caught with a 100% fake story attached to a 100% fake UFO photo. And this is fair use, transformative work. We're educating the public with the clip. We'll be discussing the clip and critiquing it.
Unimaginably seemed impossible. They described it as literally the mothership, looking like the mothership from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Now, if any of you ever seen that movie, remember the very end, this huge mini city floating in the sky and turns upside down. Listen, guess what we caught in Romania in 2022? By the way, the U.S. Embassy. I'm behind the scenes. I'm behind the scenes. I'm behind the scenes. As literally the mothership. The mothership. The mothership. That whistleblowers. Not behind the scenes. That whistleblowers. Not behind the scenes. That whistleblowers. Not behind the scenes. As literally the mothership. The mothership. The mothership. Not behind the scenes. Not behind the scenes. Not behind the scenes.
Lue Elizondo.
I'm an intel guy.
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 Mothership, the 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 mothership.
Spoiler alert, there was no mothership in the sky, and he made up a fake story about talking to the pilots that saw it because he's a greedy, greasy, scumbag, lying grifter who sells fake shit to morons for money. And I just love it. Every day when he wakes up, he's got to look himself in the mirror and say, I got to lie to people real good about them aliens in order to eat today. What a tragic, tragic existence that must be. And, I pray for people like him and David Wilcock and all these other grifters, because they know they got nothing. They got nothing real. There's no there. There's nothing real here. It's all a bunch of nonsense and, deceptions, lies, bullshito. Says, Getches to go Juka. Okay, Bullshito, but that's one for the goal, so we thank you for that. We appreciate it. And we want to thank Simon Fly for that clip. And let's continue with the Slop Fest tonight, friends. I promise you tomorrow night we have a much funnier show for you. We'll be returning to the despicable world of Darkside Phil. And I got to tell you, I'm here for that because apparently Darkside Phil is getting felted by a hot girl streamer, a hot bisexual girl streamer that has a hot girlfriend. And this girl is a boss bitch. Like, this is some grade A Kino kind of material. So tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have probably the funniest show of the week. But then Saturday night at 7 p.m., we have The Wacky World of David Wilcock, and I'll be responding to his claims that I stole $4,000 from his bank account, and I'm a master CIA hacker, and all these other things.
So,
but back to the slop for now. I promise better material tomorrow.
360 degrees all around me, every direction inside.
Yeah, they don't like to think what they're doing is wrong.
Sphere, you got it.
Shout out to Simon Fly, says Tyblee.
Right? So here we go. Here's our energy device. We have this object. We have a
always verify UFO pics.
Source in the middle of our bubble, and we've got this vehicle we're going to build around 360 degrees all around us. Now, what is a two-dimensional representation of a sphere?
You're right. If he would have done that, he would have known that was a fake photo, Jackson.
Circle.
Reverse Google image search is the first thing you should do with a UFO photo.
And I put on the ground, I'm going to
find the source, the original source.
If I have a disc, right? I'm still being protected 360 degrees all around.
And this is nonsense theoretical crap from his book from Hal Puthoff.
The disc inside there.
It's not even his original material.
Is limited. I can only make that bubble so big with so much energy. 43 feet. But,
well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Last minute Lacey, pardon me, says you didn't steal from him, and I feel like you're doing this because it needs to be done. I may not agree with everything you do, but maybe it's their karma. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, all we've ever done, for those unaware, all we've ever done to David Wilcock is fact check the things that he says, and he's a public figure. I'm allowed to do that. And yes, we make fun of him because he says ridiculous stuff like the Archangel Michael told him to take a bath and piss and he'd get superpowers, and he did it and got superpowers. And then he saved Donald Trump from the assassin's bullet by Matrix style moving the bullet out of the way with his superpowers. I'm allowed to make fun of him for that. I'm allowed to make fun of him. Darren Kern says, this is the silliest interpretation of what a UFO does that I have ever seen. A lot of people say that. It's Hal Puthoff. He's just repeating Hal Puthoff nonsense. Farce Face with a kind and generous 2 and 1 for the goal. Are you going to add snaps to Altos? Snaps? What? Let me know what you mean by snaps, Farce Face. And the Altos project has kind of fallen by the wayside. It hasn't been updated in a few years now. But interestingly, I just heard from a friend who just tried the latest build, Altos Alpha 2, I think, and it worked perfectly on his computer. I'm always happy when I get a good report because usually I get bad reports. And for those unaware, Altos is my Linux project. It's Altos, the alternative operating system. Usually when I get emails, it's like, oh, it didn't see my sound card. How am I supposed to fix this? Or, but I have gotten a few good reports lately, and I hope that I'm going to have time, hopefully this summer, to work on Altos. If it's too hot outside, I'll be in the air conditioner working on that. These guys are immune to harassment, says Crunt. They can be shown directly that they are liars, and they try to squirm out of the lie with a new lie in real time. Yeah. Have you heard anything from Joe Rogan yet, Stephen? No, but he has been increasingly more vocal that he thinks a lot of these people are bullshitters. So maybe someday he'll be ready to talk to somebody like me. Jackson Neglatron says, I've been calling Stavati a lot, wanting to buy anti-gravity craft and invest billions in Stavati. Oh, geez. All right, we got to at least get through the first hour of this before I call it quits here.
Car to put 3 people in it, maybe like a Corvette, right around town. But really I'm limited in size. Now there is a Navy saying, how many nuclear reactors do you put on a Navy ship? And the answer is as few as possible. Because when something goes wrong, it goes really wrong. Same holds true with this. Now, let's say my family's getting bigger. And now it's not just me and the kids going to soccer practice. No, I've got my aunt and my uncle and my cousins. I need a school bus.
Oh, wow.
How would I do it? Well, turns out
you need a lot more energy.
I need a bigger car. I can put two of these discs together and have interlocking bubbles, if you will. But what is that?
Rogan smells like axe spray. I don't know. I never smelled them. I've never been close enough to smell them. TJ. I have seen a live comedy show he did once.
Do the same thing as I did with a disc, but I have now more.
Algaray says, I should have known you were developing your own Linux distro. David Wilcock did tell us you're an expert hacker. Yes, I am, Algaray.
At this point, a school bus isn't going to do it. I need something even bigger. So, again, for those of you in geometry, what is the only shape in geometry where I can minimize the number of propulsion units, right? Because I don't want too many.
Lou talks shit. Yeah, it's just really cringe.
Triangle, that's right. It turns out if I go 90 degrees from the middle.
All right, and we're at 30 of 50 here, and I was only hoping to get through this first hour. We've got 12 more minutes to make it to the hour. If we get 20 more super chats in the next little bit of time here, we'll do some fun overtime. I will preview tomorrow night's show on Dumb Side Phil.
And I have 3 propulsion drives. That's your triangle. And now some people report a really, really big triangle that's got a light.
A really, really big triangle. In the middle.
I even need something bigger than that.
And again, all of this is speculation. There's no science here from this so-called scientist. Smith Richards says Lou equals shit.
One on each apex and one in the middle.
Lou, I make cut look like skinny jeans, and I prove naps are not real to dumbasses. UAPs are real to dumbasses. I thought it said naps for a second there.
The number of propulsion units. So what do you do then?
Watch the Spotify sellout.
Well,
I like Joe Rogan. When he's not talking UFOs, I like his show most of the time.
Structure, sometime with 9, 10,
1.5 speed. Yeah, maybe we should do that.
Because at that point, there is no more economy
scale. Before we do that, though, Storm Crow, this will be funny. Let's slow him down, right? Let's try to slow it down. Oh, I don't know. Playback speed. Okay, here we go. Let's slow him down to half speed and see if this makes more sense when he sounds drunk and high. All right, let's try that.
Now you can use
That's too slow. Let's try 75. I think this is going to make more sense when he sounds high and drunk.
One big long line.
Okay.
And so this may explain why the discs tend to be small. Kind of think of a sports car. Your rods tend to be larger.
No, this is worse.
Up to 100 feet.
No, he doesn't sound any more believable.
Substantially larger than that.
We'll try to speed him up. We'll just give him. He needs some crack, cocaine, right? Or he needs some methamphetamines or some kind of upper to get through this bullshit faster.
Is even bigger. Sometimes reported.
It's boring. The regular speed. It's boring at this speed too, but at least we'll get through it faster.
Biological effects. We don't really talk about that too much early on, but we're starting to talk about that now a lot. So let's go back to our little work bubble here. Turns out that this is highly energetic. These propulsion.
Lou knows how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll pop. You're right. You're correct.
That's why microwave ovens have these little shields at the door. They won't turn on until you close the shield. Well, what if you did get close to
0.5 speed, yes. It's terrible.
Well,
always 1.5.
So we have reports from individuals, military personnel, 166 patients, U.S. government employees that actually sustained injuries and were studied by U.S. medical professionals in the intelligence community and the Department of Defense who sustained injuries allegedly coming too close to a UAP. That's right. They're there.
He said 166 people. Can we see the medical reports, Lou? He said 166 people were studied by government scientists. Does he mean Gary Nolan? I don't really think you would call Gary Nolan a government scientist. He's another one of Lue Elizondo's wackadoo friends.
Those individuals are real human beings. I know some of them personally.
Okay, so show us the medical reports that back up what you were about to say, that they all, 166 of them, received injuries from being exposed to UAPs. I'll wait, Lou. We never see the data. It's just stories. That's what we get here.
So think of zone 1. People say, yeah, man, I got this looks like a sunburn. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. You got ultraviolet radiation poisoning. You got too close to something, and you have your epidermis has radiation burns. Get a little closer, what happens? People start sustaining internal organ damage. They start experiencing significant morphology differences in their bodies.
And again, there's no scientific data or medical reports to confirm that what he's saying about people being injured by UAPs is factual or accurate. It's just a trust me bro story that many people have bounced back and forth on each other. Gary Nolan talks about this. Lue Elizondo talks about this. A few others talk about this. And this is the circle jerk that I'm talking about. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. They're using each other for sources and saying that this is real, but nobody has any evidence to prove that the story is real. They just keep bouncing the stories back and forth between true believing wackadoos like Elizondo.
Their livers, their kidneys, their hearts. These are patients that are U.S. government people that have sustained these type of injuries. And the third zone, when you get too close, even something crazier happens. You have pilots that'll report and say, Lou, you're not going to believe this. I feel like I'm going crazy, but I'm flying my plane, and I look at my clock, and it felt like 30 minutes went by, but when I looked at my clock, only 5 minutes went by. Oh, by the way, I only used 5 minutes of fuel. That's possible. Well, it turns out that this terminus here, this event horizon, may be a soft terminus. The edge of the bubble may be soft, and the more it's juiced up, and the closer you get to it, the more you may begin to experience space-time, more relative.
Time dilation or lost time is another point of UFO mythology. People who are abducted by aliens claim that they experience lost time. People who flew near a UFO, in a few cases, claim that they experience lost time, or time compression. In other words, time moving faster than usual, or time dilation, time slowing down. But these, again, are stories. And again, no scientific data or evidence to actually support that these are facts. These, like everything he's talked about so far, are just stories. And I'm really stricken by the number of trust me bros in this presentation. We're about an hour in. He's presented exactly zero evidence of anything so far. No scientific data, no scientific studies, no expert analysis of radar data, no expert analysis of video data or image analysis. Zero science, zero evidence, zero. It's nothing but stories with this guy.
To what's inside the bubble and outside the bubble. And so that was, if you will, the proverbial aha moment that the U.S. government recognized in 2015. That was kind of the big thing for ATIP. So let's talk about conspiracies and secrets. Why do countries have secrets? There's actually, turns out there's a really good reason why we do.
Now he's going to give us a fucking civics lesson, this total bore clown. He's putting me to sleep.
And despite what a lot of people think, no, we're not trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the American people. There's a reason for it, so let's talk about it. Here's a brief history of U.S. national secrets that were very secret.
God, a history lesson
that
now.
We were conducting these operations. So a lot of you maybe are familiar with World War II Navajo wind talkers. We actually employed native Navajo personnel to communicate back and forth because we knew the Germans could not break the language because it was so unique.
Well, that's one actual fact that he's told so far. I'm a student of history, and it is true that during World War II, they used Navajo for code because they knew that the Germans and the Japanese would not be able to speak Navajo and break, and so they could have secret communications. So, hey, we're 53 minutes in. He finally told the audience one true fact.
That they had no way of breaking the language. So we used these wind talkers to enforce. 1950s, the U.S. Navy SNOOZEFEST program, where we put underwater microphones to try to hunt and identify Russian submarines using hydrophones. And guess what? It worked. 1960s, the development of the U-2 aircraft. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, so I'm not going to talk too much now about it because there's an example.
What does any of this have to do with UFOs?
1970s,
I guess he's talking about secret projects.
Unit program, started by the CIA and Stanford University, and used all the way officially at least until the late 1990s. You never stop using something that was good, right? So fill in the blanks as you like. And then, of course, 1980s, the development of the stealth program, TASA blue, half blue programs, eventually leading.
Okay, so he's talking about. Oh, somebody's probably moving the recorder.
What is Operation Just Cause that we actually showed the world for the very first time. Ta-da! Look what we got here. F-117.
I just heard put it in your jacket pocket.
Night fighter. And everybody knew at that point that we now have a stealth aircraft. And of course, later on, the B-2 bomber, and later on after that, the CIA used the black. These are just some examples of secrets that have been kept in the American people.
Yeah, so these are true. These were once secret projects that were kept secret from the public. But it's a false equivocation to say because they kept secrets before, they could keep the greatest secret in human history, like alien bodies, like alien recovered spacecraft, and things of that nature.
So why do we have secrets? Well, the first one is to hide what the U.S. knows and doesn't know about UFOs from its adversaries, right? Why is that important? Well, we sure don't want to broadcast to our enemy, hey, look at this really cool technology we just figured out. But there's also the counter argument. If there's stuff that we don't know or we haven't figured out, we don't want to let the bad guys know that either, right? So there's a valid reason why we keep secrets, especially from our adversaries.
Yeah, it's called national security. Unless you're a moron, you understand why the government needs to keep secrets.
Yeah, I'm not going to read each and every one of these, but you can see here some of the reasons why we do not share secrets and we keep things from our adversaries. Here's some examples. Okay? So over here you see the Boeing spaceplane that to this day is still being used for secret missions. We know it's real, but the government doesn't tell you what we're using it for. Anybody know what this is? Would anybody know what this is? Anybody?
Oh, jeez.
Go ahead, sir.
Again, it's
really close. It's a
bad.
spinning brown craft. It's called the Chronoplan, or otherwise known, aka, as the Caspian Sea Monster. This is a Russian vehicle that is larger than a Boeing 747. It has 8 high bypass turbofan jet engines.
It really is like a bad
to 12
substitute teacher showed up
and it either flies or it floats.
to your class that day.
It creates a cushion of air called a wing and ground effect. And,
I know some
it
people
flies about
believe.
450 knots right over the water. And why do the Russians do that? Well,
He's
because
lying.
it flies
He's
through
trying to
water,
inflict a
not
brain
radar.
injury on that
If it's underwater,
crowd.
we've got torpedoes. So the Russians figured out a way to create a vehicle that flew right in that sweet spot where we could detect it with radar and we could detect it with sonar, right? It's clever Ruskies. How about this? Do you know what that is? That is a supercavitational torpedo. It is a torpedo that the Russians invented, of course, the Russians again, where they direct some of the exhaust from the torpedo, which is rocket propelled, out a needle in the front of the torpedo bulb. And what happens? The torpedo flies inside that bulb.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Don't touch me, I'm crazy says. It's like listening to an autistic person recite an Ancient Aliens episode from memory. It's really that bad. It is.
Resistance, water resistance. So instead of flying at 80 miles an hour underwater, this thing can fly at several hundred miles an hour underwater. So these are some real examples. What's another reason why we have secrets? Well, believe it or not, it's to hide information from our own citizens. Now, I don't agree with this. I don't like this, but it's true. We do. We hide things from the American people for several reasons. One of them is to avoid any public pressure or political pressure. Maybe there's something we're doing, and we don't want Congress on our butts telling us what to do. And we don't want Congress knowing exactly what we're doing and how far we've developed something, because that leads to more questions. And more questions require more answers. Answers which the U.S. government isn't prepared to give at that time. Now, again, I don't agree with it. You can see here some of the reasons why we do it. Here's some examples if you don't believe it.
Are we getting the point so far that he knows no government real secrets, and he's not certainly going to give you any real government secrets about aliens, UFOs, or anything else for that matter, for the money that you plop down to hear this clown, regurgitating UFO mythology from the internet?
Iran-Contra. We would never do that. We do. Development of the atomic bomb. It wasn't until we actually dropped it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and vaporized 500,000 living souls off this planet did the world know what we had developed. Another example, Area 51, and of course, even to this day, the Kennedy assassination files, still classified, right?
Not for long, though, Lou.
But there's another reason why we keep secrets. This third reason is probably for me even the most insulting. I don't make the rules, I don't agree with it, but this is another reason why. We do it to protect the moral fabric of society. Someone somewhere is making a decision to protect society by not telling you something. And here's some examples here. Why? They're worried about maybe civil unrest.
Yeah, and here's the argument for why they're keeping aliens secret. And it's a really stupid argument. Like, oh, so if we tell the truth about the aliens, there'll be civil unrest. Religions will all collapse. In the Brooks Report, I believe, there was a study commissioned about what would happen if the United States government suddenly told the American people that, you know, there are life on other planets and aliens visiting us or whatever. Or I believe it was if they found proof of ancient civilizations on Mars or the moon, if they told the American people what would happen. And that study determined that there would be partial societal collapse, economic uncertainty, religions would collapse overnight, there could be civil unrest. I don't really believe that. I think, you know, if they held a press conference tomorrow and told us, hey, Roswell, we really did recover aliens and we kept it a secret for these reasons, you know, you still got to go to work. You still have to pay your bills. Life goes on. I think it would be a profound moment, certainly, but I don't think there'd be anything like some of these pundits predict. But this is what the UFO grifter profiteers love to use to say, well, this is why they're keeping it secret. You don't know if they are keeping this secret. You have no evidence, of course, but hey, let's just philosophize endlessly because we don't have evidence to talk about. We'll talk about philosophy and maybes and hope-sos and what could happen and what should happen and why the government does this. And let me philosophize about why I think. Let me offer my speculation endlessly because that's all I've got is speculation because I have no evidence.
Maybe they believe that humans aren't ready for the truth. Sound familiar? Right? Maybe the reality is so different than what you've learned, whether through Sunday school or Hebrew school or anywhere else, or mom and dad at the dinner table, that it might cause you to have some sort of anxiety, maybe even panic a little bit. Now, if you don't believe me that we've done this before and we continue to do it, here's some examples. Anybody know what these are here?
It must be dessert.
It was years and years
must be dessert
before
time.
the scientific community published the
I heard
results.
somebody like, I'm going back up to the buffet. Do you want anything? This guy's boring as shit. I'm going to go eat some more.
Of the translation of the sea scrolls that were found in
I hope she got a
1947
good dinner anyway.
for the American people.
Because this entertainment is shit. This is garbage, peddled nonsense.
Ideas of our country. But they were
Uh-oh.
worried
Somebody's having a
that
drink.
these old scrolls would say something different than what we were taught in Sunday school, religious schools, and whatnot. Another example. CIA.
Oh, thank you,
Ultra.
Anthony Gallego.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's real. And we did a lot of NASA.
Always enjoy the show. Keep up the good work. Too many people are quick to accept the fantasy without hard evidence. Nice to see someone bring everyone back down to earth. That's what we do here.
Individuals were dead. In this case,
If you say so, Jamie. Aliens are real. Demons don't exist. Wackadoos.
LSD, MK Ultra, the CIA dispensing LSD in quantities to the American public without them knowing, and then following them and seeing the reactions of what would happen if they dosed you with LSD.
Questions people's belief in aliens.
So yeah, we do nasty things like that sometimes. And of course, over here is a file for UFOs.
All right, just a reminder, we are still 20 from the goal, so it looks like no overtime tonight. I'm kind of beat, so I'm kind of okay with no
Long
overtime.
time, that's right, someone say 80 plus years. Well, I'm going to show you guys something. This is a document, a real document, from your government, the United States government.
He's fond of showing fake documents, so I'd love to know what document.
And I'm going to highlight some points here. The date of this document is 1950. Now, I don't normally read off the slide, but I think this is important. And by the way, there are thousands of these reports, okay? So let's look at this report, for example. By the way, this is an official Air Force document. Subject, summary of observation of aerial phenomena in the New Mexico area, December 1948 to May 1950. It was determined that the frequency of unexplained aerial phenomena in the New Mexico area was such that an organized plan of reporting these observations should be undertaken. An investigation, not unlike ATIP.
There is often flaps of UFO activity, kind of like the recent New Jersey drone flap, but that all turned out to be mostly misidentified aircraft. These UFO grifters, they often show like, see, the government's taking this seriously. They're investigating it. Well, they have to for national security reasons. But just because the government is investigating something doesn't mean it's real. And when I say real, I mean aliens, what you think it means. It's a false equivocation.
Not unlike Blue Book, not unlike the UAP Task Force, not unlike OSAP. Okay? The observers of these phenomena include scientists, special agents of the Air Force OSI, airline pilots, military pilots, Los Alamos security inspectors, military personnel, and many other persons of various occupations whose reliability is not questioned.
Yeah, well, all people from all walks of life sometimes experience a UFO sighting. It doesn't mean anything.
And what are the shapes they were seeing back in 1950? Discs, or variations thereof. This is my favorite paragraph here, and I'm going to read this one too, but I'm going to go on this side so I can be closer to some of our friends over here too. Give you guys some love here too. This summary of observations of aerial phenomena has been prepared for the purpose of re-emphasizing, well, okay, so they had reports before this, and reiterating, okay, so they've been talking about this for a while, the fact that the phenomena have continuously occurred in New Mexico skies during the past 18 months and are continuing to occur, and secondly, if that's not enough, right, that these phenomena are occurring in the vicinity of sensitive military and government installations. That sounds awfully darn familiar. Now, this is...
He's getting his disclosure boner right here.
One.
Ooh, the aliens are flying right over. Sensitive military bases. I'm gonna come on my own face. Come on, clown. Who cares?
Many documents that exist within the U.S.
Yeah, if there's a UFO flap, they investigate. It doesn't mean anything. It means they investigate it.
Government archives. Some written none other than J. Edgar Hoover himself. Some written by none other than the director of the CIA and the Pentagon brass.
Yeah. All the people he just mentioned, whose job it was to preserve national security. So, of course, maybe they wrote about it.
This is nothing new, folks. We have been dealing with this for a long time. This is the worst kept secret in American history.
Then why can't you show us evidence to support any of your claims? If it's such a badly kept secret, you'd have like documents, you'd have crystal clear 4K footage of the aliens arriving, you'd have sensor data, you'd have all kinds of stuff. But yet, all you have is shit that you scraped from the internet, loser.
Remember Roswell? I know, right? Oh my gosh, UFO crashes. What happens within 24 hours? What happens? Oh, weather balloons. Nothing to see here, folks. Don't pay attention here. Nothing to see. Well, this kind of reminds me of something else, a little bit. And I don't want to be conspiratorial, but...
Yeah, I don't want to be conspiratorial, but I have superpowers. And I ran a top secret government UFO program in the land of make-believe, but I don't want to be conspiratorial here. All right, we're at over an hour and 4 minutes. We went past the hour mark. I will check in with the goal. We're still at 30 of 50. I think we're going to call it a night here and call it a quick one. For us, quick anyway, 2 hours and 47 minutes. I think that is quite enough time to waste listening to this clown. But let me know in the comments or in the live chat, do you really want me to do another show and we'll go over the other half? I'm willing to do it if the audience wants it. We always give the audience what they want here. But, you know, come on. Jamie, I'm going to ask you to be nice to all the fellow chatters. That's our only rule here. So please, no petty bickering or arguments in my live chat. Take it somewhere else. Everybody has to feel welcome here, and they don't if they're getting attacked or argued with for just their statements or their personal beliefs. We like everybody to feel welcome here. So let's try to make everybody feel welcome. Oh, we went long enough that my light went out. It's on a timer. So I'll take some comments and questions from the live chat before we bounce on out of here. Kale says more slop. Well, we didn't hit our goal. Spooky. And by the way, thanks to Spooky for the wonderful thumbnail. You'll notice But well, I think people know when the thumbnail's really good, they know that I didn't do it. So of course that was spooky. Yeah, YouTube Rabbit Hole says, yeah, Lou is too boring. Louis Camus saying, please, Steve, we want Mo. Well, we try to stick to the goals in the overtime. And, if it's looked like there was a chance of hitting that goal, I would keep going through this slop. But Operation Shutdown says, great thumbnail. I thought the Epstein stuff hasn't come out yet. Yeah, we might do a show on that next week. I really got to know what I'm talking about. I'm not very familiar with this stuff that's going on with the Epstein stuff. One more hour. Sure, just drop $100 super chat or buy 25 gifted memberships. One or the other, and I'll do another hour. TJ Felony, Cambian, do you believe Elizondo has accounts working for him on Twitter? Yeah, because if you say something negative, you get attacked by brand new, nameless, faceless, brand new Twitter accounts. And do I know that's him? I don't know that I know that's him. I don't have any evidence of that, but I'm entitled to my belief. And one of the things you'll experience, or if you go on Twitter and post something with the hashtag UFO Twitter or UFO X, and if it's not praising these grifting scumbags like Elizondo, then you get attacked by they're always brand new accounts with fake names and all this other stuff, which I think is no coincidence. Research perception management operations when it comes to counterintelligence, counterinsurgency, and psyops. They're trying to control the narrative, and so they try to bully people into silence that don't go along with their narrative. And we've shown clear examples of that, right? Zippo Fanatic 77 Outdoors is asking, Steve, how did you steal that money from David? Just to put on the record, I did not do anything like steal money from David Wilcock. I did not perform any criminal act against Mr. Wilcock. All I've ever done is ask questions. And I said this on a guest appearance. When listening to what David Wilcock says, you need a wackadoo translator. So I'll be your wackadoo translator. When David Wilcock says he's getting death threats, when we do the wackadoo translation, what he really means is he's getting mean tweets. People are tweeting mean things at him on Twitter. That's what he's calling death threats. When he says someone is a terrorist, he means they're terrorizing him by asking questions about the public statements and lies that he feeds his audience. That's a terroristic act to him. You can't ask questions while he's lying to his audience. You're just supposed to sit down and shut up and let him lie to 500,000 people, right? Detective, one more for you, Steve. Thanks for the stream. Well, thank you for your kindness and generosity. Detective. Louis Camus says, I mean, you did kind of steal money from David because you keep convincing his audience to not pay him. Yeah, that's me extorting money from him. He really means that I'm convincing the morons that watch him not to give him any more money, so he has to get a real job. Zippo Fanatic 77 Outdoors says, I died laughing about his accusations. He thinks you are some hyper intelligent hacker. Well, I do have a background in computer science, but I do not now, nor have I ever had the capability to just steal money from somebody's bank account with my hacking abilities. So there's that. Crunt says he will say they sent Hitman to his house when it's just a county clerk serving him court papers for getting sued again. Yes, and this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to do the Wacky World of Wilcock, and I'll address all those clips of him making all those accusations. Last Minute Lacey says, when I asked them questions, they blocked me, and I was honest to God just asking normal things, not threatening or swearing or anything hostile. No one convinced me to not pay David. Well, thank you for that, Last Minute Lacey, and you are most welcome here. And you can always ask any questions you want here. We will not block you for asking questions. I believe in free speech. David Wilcock believes in an echo chamber because he's desperate. He's desperate to preserve this delusion that he's the father of anti-gravity and Edgar Cayce reincarnated and open alien contact and ascension is coming in May of 2025. And he's talking to angels and you got to give him $333 to hear what the angels have to say. And Stavati Aerospace is not a scam, yet they were called a scam in court records. They're not suing any of their creditors or, well, excuse me, their creditors. There are several creditors that they owe a lot of money to that are suing them. So it has all the signs of being a scam. He needs to pay people to delete every mean tweet. Could you imagine if you had to employ full-time staff to just delete everything mean that anybody ever says about you on the internet? Like what? David Wilcock is a tremendous pussy, right? Just a tremendous, like he's got a vagina, that guy. He's such a pussy. Just a tremendous, cowardly, intellectual weakling and coward. Because if he was telling the truth, he could debate his so-called truth. If he was telling the truth, he could allow people to ask questions about his truth. But he can't allow that because then the morons that are sending him money every week will start realizing, hey, maybe this guy lied to us about Ascension at least 3 or 4 times now. Ascension's on its way this year, and then it never came. Maybe we should stop giving this grifter money, right? You mean you didn't hire 8 people to monitor your live chat? No, honestly, I couldn't afford it if I wanted to. And I really am a strong supporter of free speech. I mean, people come in here and call me a cocksucker or a disinformation agent. They say I work for the CIA. They say all kinds of things. And I let them because I am not an intellectual weakling and coward. And I can debate and people can ask me any questions that they want to. And we don't hide anything from our viewers. I rarely hide replies on my Twitter. Well, here's the exception. If you attack my disability, meaning my wonky eye, people are fond of calling me wonky eye Steve or whatever, then I hide your reply or I block you because I can't do anything about being disabled. So that attack is too much for me. But anything you want to say, even if you're personally insulting, I don't care. I'll let you say it. Zippo Fanatic says, I love how your channel is blowing up now. The truth is getting out there. Well, all it took was 4 years of grinding for Taco Bell wages or less. But yeah, we're in a very good place. And by the way, I'll be doing the monthly show journal tonight for those who are Patreon supporters. By the way, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1 a month, or a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. You get the same extra goodies, some extra videos every month, but if you do it on YouTube, you get a little bit extra. You get like a member badge and priority reply in the comments and things like that. And I was looking for the Kick subscribers, but shout out to the Kick chat anyway. We haven't gotten any new subs or gifted subs since February 22nd. Mewtwo X Reveal was the last person to subscribe, and the last person to gift the sub was Bobo1488. But we thank you all for being over in the Kick chat. I will go over there and so Clydesdale is here and says the Kick chat is the best chat. And Winter Soldiers is here and says stochastic terrorism. And Dead Pap, or is it? It's Dead Pop says, or Dead Pap, I'm sorry, let me make my screen a little bigger. In my defense, I am literally half blind. Dead Pap says, that's wild, homie. Questions are terrorism. Dead Pap says, we're going to Shia the YouTubers. Kick chat will genocide the YouTube chat. Oh, we need blood. I think he's Dead Pep is talking about the Epstein files. It came out today, and 90% of the shit is redacted. No surprise at all. Bring it to. We like the fight in the chat. Winter Soldier's mentioning LSD. QQ on Kick says, I feel like I had finished my plate a while ago and just wanted to leave, talking about Lue Elizondo's. Yeah. And like I said, dude, dinner theater is the worst gig in show business. I did it. And, I just didn't like it. That and restaurant magic, right? When I was starting doing magic shows, a restaurant near me said, well, you come in and you just go table to table and you do some magic tricks. But a lot of the times when you're in a restaurant, like there'd be some dude with his girlfriend or his date. He don't want a stupid magic trick. He's trying to bang this girl and you're interrupting his game. I mean, if they had kids, maybe they'd want to, but you're still competing with people's French fries, which I found extremely humiliating and denigrating, and I didn't like it. And that's the same reason I didn't like dinner theater. Like I don't want to compete with somebody's roast beef and mashed potatoes here, and like I did it, and I would see that like I had an hour-long show for this one dinner theater, and like 40 minutes in, they finally finished their meal and started paying attention. So the first 40 minutes of the show, you might as well just throw that shit in the trash. People were literally looking down at their plates, not even watching me, talking amongst themselves. Dinner theater is the worst gig in show business. Now, that being said, if somebody offered me a fat enough check, I would do it again, because I try to be humble and you just make the best of it. So what I did is convince the managers, serve the dinner, wait 40 minutes, start serving coffee and dessert, and then I come on the stage. And eventually he agreed with me, and we tried it one time, and he agreed with me. That was a better way to do it, because people just focused on their meal, and then as they were finishing, I came on, and then only the first 10 or so minutes of my show was ignored by the audience while they ate their dessert, right? Last minute, Lacey says, yeah, the roast beef is fantastic. It really is. Is Jimmy Church your favorite grifter? Asked Vidal. Well, he's my favorite fake radio. Do you know he said for years that he was on the radio when he was just on YouTube, on the internet? He wasn't on the radio for a lot of that shit. Jimmy Church Radio. What radio stations? Oh, that's right. You're a liar and a grifter. And of course, Jimmy Church co-signed David Wilcock and Corey Good and every other greasy-ass grifter liar. Do I still make music? Yes, I've got 3 albums right now in the works, but each one needs vocals. And the problem is that I live with 2 young boys, and it sounds like a herd of elephants. I have a little studio and an extra room here, but every time I try to record, I get like SpongeBob shit in the background. I have very good microphones, or I get Mickey Mouse shit, or whatever they're watching or playing on tablets or watching on the TV. I don't have good soundproofing, so I have to wait to finish the vocals until I'm at the cabin, because it's very quiet there, and at least until early summer or late spring, they won't be there at the cabin with me. I'll be just working on things at the cabin and prepping things. Crunt says, I'd pay to see you do a fake UFO comedy grift and make it so outrageous nobody could possibly think it's real. Well, we are having Grift Month coming up for them underwear, and there's Stormcrow asking about Grift Month. I don't know, but I just got a big tranche of good material. I have somebody helping me make all the fake shit now, Stormcrow. So we're going to probably do it in June or July or August. I want to have plenty of material. When we do Grift Month, I'm going to be dropping UFO videos and Bigfoot videos and cryptid creature videos and ghost videos and creepy videos, all kinds of grifty shit. And new whistleblowers coming forward, Stormcrow. We're going to have a lot of grift to do. We're going to have a lot of material to do Grift Month. And for those unaware, Grift Month is going to be a social experiment where I become a UFO and alien and paranormal grifter for a full-on month. We're going to be releasing videos that are all fake as shit, and we're going to see how much money I can make releasing totally fake shit. But then at the end of it, we're going to come clean with and show the audience, like, as a teachable moment, like, here's how I made this fake UFO video. Here's how I made this one. So it's taking a lot longer than I thought, Stormcrow, because we have to keep notes and stuff like that. If you need your own JP, let me know, says Ty Blee. We need Steve to play the PlayStation 2 classic Destroy All Humans. I'm open to that. Maybe we'll do that. Algaray, anytime people bring up Jimmy Church, I have to remind everyone he vetted Corey Good 3 times. Yes, he did. Yeah, and Corey Good was definitely telling the truth about all that. Jimmy Church was on the radio here in Minnesota. Oh, I'm sorry for Minnesota. That was a long time ago, though. Lacey, it's okay, no money necessary, and always a free speech zone here. That is what makes me come back. Yeah, Archaic Revival is right. Have you ever talked to Tyler UFO Weirdo? No, I haven't. George Crap, thank you. You should make a UFO grifter tier list. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. So, my friends, I believe that we have done our due diligence. For those that have asked, there is a link in the description of this video or podcast where you can just hear this terrible Lue Elizondo performance without me talking over it. And for the benefit of other journalists, investigative journalists, researchers, show hosts, I will be posting a Google Drive link on my Twitter or X. Follow me on X or Twitter at Stephen Canby, and I'll drop the Google Drive link and you can download it, clip it to your heart's content. But I do ask that since we are the exclusive, the first person to break this story, that you link back to our YouTube channel here. It really, really does help. So yeah, I think we're good. I'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a really funny show catching up on the Dark Side film drama. And I appreciate the help and support of some people who have been sending me clips and material. We're going to do another pig roast tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, not to be missed. So that's all I got for you, friends, and we've done our due diligence. So until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion, and what I'd like to say is good night and God bless all of you, including you, Lue Elizondo. I hope you're going to stop lying to people and feeding them a false reality for cash. And my prayer is that you find a road to redemption and get a real job, something that everybody can be proud of you doing instead of lying to morons for money. Good night and God bless all of you.